Good evening, everyone. Going to call this meeting to order. This is the May 27th, 2021 meeting of the South Bay Council Cities Council of Governments Board of Directors. And can we verify the quorum?
Yes, there is a quorum. Thank you.
Can we confirm the posting of the agenda?
Yes, the agenda was posted. And yes,
Are there any changes to it?
I have no changes to the agenda tonight.
Are there any public comments?
We have no notice of any public comments.
Okay, so you have on your agenda, you have the items for the consent calendar. I'm assuming you've had a chance to look at them. Now, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar at this time.
So moved, Armato.
Second, Horvath.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded. David, may we have a reverse roll call, please?
David, are you there? No, no. You says you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Any opposition to approving the consent calendar? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
George Chen had his hand up.
Oh, George?
Yeah,
Okay, George, go ahead.
item G, support AB 1258. I consulted with our staff and that was the one that I'm taking the abstination since our city has not taken a position on it yet.
Is that still alive, David? Do we know? 12. I thought I saw that it's actually a 2-year bill. But
Yeah, I believe it turned into a 2-year bill today.
yeah, so but we'll put you down as an abstention, but it's not actually a live bill anymore.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And we're going to be posting the, David will put a new legislative matrix in the chat. And what you need to know about it is that there are certain pieces of legislation that are in gray, they're shaded. Those are the ones that are now 2-year bills. The next time you see the legislative matrix, they will be removed. And David and I will be keeping a 2-year bill list that we will bring back to you when those bills become active again. This is the last time you'll see them on this list. Okay.
Thank you very much. All
So
right.
have we recorded that the SB 9 passed the Senate today,
I think, is it in the matrix? I think it is.
28-6?
It was mostly updated this morning, so it depends on when that vote happened. I don't remember exactly what the matrix says.
It's still a live bill, though. What David
Yeah.
was doing is the deadline for live bills is, or dead bills happened already. So this is current as of that, and maybe not current as of this today, but current as of yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay, so next we have our presentations, and we'll start with Alan Crail Johnson, President of Jericho Development, Inc., and Kathleen McGuire, Director of Marketing and Communication for the Ratkovich Company. This is a presentation on West Harbor, a new LA waterfront destination. So Alan Johnson graduated magna cum laude from the University of Colorado with a BS in finance in 1981. In 1984, he founded Jericho Development, which specializes in renovating historic commercial properties in San Pedro and Long Beach. He has spent his career as an advocate for the revitalization of downtown San Pedro. In 1995, Johnson co-founded Grand Vision Foundation, a nonprofit organization which is dedicated to the restoration of San Pedro's historic Warner Grand Theater and providing music education in the harbor area. He was one of the founders of San Pedro's first Thursday Art Walk in 1998, which continues to this day. Jericho Development is currently a partner in the West Harbor Project, a 42-acre commercial development at the Port of Los Angeles in San Pedro. Johnson is also the president of the Crail Johnson Foundation, a family foundation supporting programs for at-risk youth. In addition, Johnson serves as Vice President for the San Pedro Historic Waterfront Business Improvement District, and in 2020, he co-chaired PBID's successful effort to establish outdoor dining parklets in downtown San Pedro, the first such program in the city of Los Angeles. Kathleen McGuire is the Director of Marketing and Communications for the Ratkovich Company and many of TRC's projects, including West Harbor, the Hercules Campus, and the Alhambra. She is actively involved in the firm's public affairs, oversees industry, community events, and charitable efforts in the firm's project areas. Kathleen initially joined Ratkovich in 1986 to help Wayne form the firm and became TRC's marketing director. She has been involved in the acquisition, leasing, and management of several award-winning historic urban renovation projects, including The Block, the Fine Arts Building, the Wiltern Center, and Chapman Market. In 1993, at Ratkovich's urging, Kathleen joined Mayor Reardon's office as his first field deputy and was quickly promoted to assistant deputy mayor, providing interface, commission oversight, and direction for recreation and parks, libraries, city clerk, and the controller. Kathleen helped form LA's business team from and ultimately drafted the ordinance that allowed business improvement districts in Los Angeles. Kathleen became president of the Reardon Foundation in 1998 and leveraged Mayor Reardon's financial support and influence to improve public education in the LAUSD. She is an active volunteer with Homeboy Industries California Hospital Medical Center and University of California, Berkeley. I am so pleased to present Alan Johnson and Kathleen McGuire. I don't know who's going to speak first, but whoever will speak first, please go right ahead.
Well, thank you so much for those. I'm blushing, those introductions. Yes, and thank you to the South Bay Cities Council of Governments for the opportunity to present our transportational redevelopment of the LA waterfront that we have now branded West Harbor. It was for a very long time, it was called San Pedro Public Market. Kathleen and I will give a little history of the project, talk about the challenges faced during the pandemic and where we are now and where we're headed. Approximately 9 years ago, just real quick, do we have a slide up? Kathleen is the...
I'm so sorry. I'm just enjoying this view, Alan, and I screwed up.
No problem. I will say Kathleen is our tech wizard.
Well, sort of.
There it is.
And
Let's
yeah,
see.
don't leave it to me.
Hang
So
on 1 second. I've got to just get it into. Yes,
no worries. I'll let you. I'll keep. Didn't want people to see that I'm obviously reading, as opposed to having this committed to memory. So I will just continue my speech from memory. So approximately 9 years ago, two family-owned real estate companies, Ratkovich Company of Los Angeles and Jericho Development of San Pedro, joined forces and were the winning bidder to redevelop the much beloved but long neglected San Pedro Portugal Village. This came after the Port of Los Angeles and the community worked closely over several years to develop a shared vision for their waterfront. There are hundreds of community meetings and workshops. A plan was put together, which was spelled out in the 2009 EIR, which became the guide for the redevelopment of the entire waterfront.
Hang on 1 second, Alan.
Okay.
Maybe somebody here.
Kathleen?
The top part of my screen is covered, so I can't see where it says presentation mode.
Kathleen, if you go up past draw, keep going up more to the right.
This.
Yeah, right there.
Yay! I'm sorry, Alan. There
No
you go.
worries. No worries. Let's see, where was I? So the 42 acre West Harbor site, you're going to hear that number a lot, 42 acres, because it needs to be said many times because it's gigantic, it's huge, and on the water. It's slated to include 375,000 square foot of improvements, a public park, amphitheater, among other amenities. We are also tasked with strengthening the connection to downtown San Pedro and to achieve LEED Silver environmental certification. Although I'm very happy to report, it looks like we're working towards gold and we think we can get it. We quickly got to work putting together a world-class team of designers and engineers to reimagine what the waterfront could be. It was a long list, which suggests the complexity of the undertaking, but there are a couple here I'd really like to highlight. Namely, first and foremost, our world-renowned landscape designer, James Corner Field Operations, who was responsible for such well-regarded projects as the High Line in New York and the tunnel tops at the Presidio in San Francisco, and the whole redesign of the Seattle waterfront. So if it's a cool waterfront project in the US, James Corner Field Operations has done it. And you know, I think part of the reason why it's the landscape, besides the size of our project, is the fact that it's outdoor spaces are so much more important now in the post-COVID world. Places, the ability to spread out and make people feel comfortable, I think will be a big selling point for years to come. We are also working with Studio 111 from neighboring Long Beach, which is a very talented architecture firm who also has an impressive body of work. They have designing the next several of the phases of the project shown in this rendering, and they are working on many of you'll see these 2-level upper patio opening up the sides of the metal buildings in later renderings. They're really doing spectacular work with these very industrial warehouse type forms. The next slide shows the many points of interest along San Pedro's waterfront. Our beautiful historic seaside town with spectacular coastline, high bluffs, and fascinating waterfront have a lot to offer locals and visitors alike, but they are really not meaningfully marketed or connected. It has been a long-held dream of local business community, which Jericho has been a part of for over 37 years, to connect these dots and to compete with the rest of Los Angeles for its rightful share of the almost $40 billion tourism economy in LA. This can be accomplished by concentrating existing attraction, building new ones, and providing transportation links between them for a seamless park once and spend the weekend experience. Shown here, this really speaks to what's going on in San Pedro, which, you know, being as you heard in my bio, that I spent my working life on downtown San Pedro, and to be a part of this important project and seeing all that's going on here is really spectacular. Basically, as you can see, there's 3,500 housing starts in our little town, which for a lot of places that would be frightening. And there are people in town who are a little anxious about it, but I think we are one of the very first and only places, and we have a council office that supports this, that we're like, we need investment. We're looking for investment. We support investment. So it's a great confluence of interest, and it comes at a wonderful time. Let's see. Also, as you heard in my bio, I've always been worked very closely with one of the last remaining movie palaces in the South Bay. Born and raised in the South Bay, lived here my whole life. It's our beautiful Warner Grand Theater, which is celebrating its 90th birthday. And some of the most exciting news is our councilman, Joe Buscano, was able to secure $10 million, and I've heard it's even more on the way, to really give it the renovation and the handicap access, and just updating this old gem, which is just another really important piece which makes San Pedro, downtown San Pedro, really something unique in all of town. in all of the South Bay. This slide also highlights investments being made on the waterfront by both private and public entities. The Port of Los Angeles, and again, our council office and our cheerleader, Joe Buscano, have been driving forces in making the reimagined waterfront a reality and have been vital partners in our development work. By 2025, they will have spent over $1 billion on infrastructure upgrades and improvements, including the realignment of Harbor Boulevard, which has dramatically increased traffic flow on busy days. Anyone that's been down there on a Mother's Day or even just a busy weekend, traffic used to back up into the Harbor Freeway. And now it really flows seamlessly and smoothly to the south parking lots. And it's just been, it's made all the difference in the world. The next slide is an overview of San Pedro's waterfront and some of the more significant proposed in development and completed projects. One of the most exciting is Altasea, which you can see there in the lower left. It's really going to be a game changer in terms of notoriety. It's a blue tech incubator. It will house the Southern California Marine Institute. It's really going to be it's like the Scripps of the North. And it's just going to put us on the map in as far as that, that segment of the economy. The port has also put $70 million directly adjacent to the West Harbor, building a beautiful promenade and town squares, also designed by the same landscape architect that did West Harbor, which was really great for the port to pick them because basically our work and their work will be seamless. You won't be able to tell where our work stops and their work starts. The town square is also important. It's because it's where the street grid of downtown meets the waterfront. It's really the only place that it does. So that connection, that real physical connection, is really important to, making downtown and the waterfront one. With that, I am now going to turn it over to Kathleen, and who will talk through our new brand and more project specifics.
Hi there. This is a quick peek at our new brand and the West Harbor logo and mark. We stepped back. Gosh, Alan, was it like it feels like it was over a year ago, actually. I don't know about all of you, but I feel like I've lost track of time during COVID. But we stepped back and we looked at our initial plans that called for a large 12,000 square foot public market space at the center of our project. And we were thinking of something akin to the Grand Central Market in downtown LA. And in the intervening years from the start of all this work almost 10 years ago, the food hall concept has exploded throughout the country. And then the pandemic came and it gave us the opportunity to rethink our concept. And it became clear that small, crowded indoor spaces were really a thing of the past. We had the ideal location to serve the world that we are now living in. We have a lot of outdoor space. We brought in Co-op Brands, a leading international branding firm, to lead our team to step back and look and relook at the opportunity. And as we looked and examined what we were trying to create here, we realized that we were building something much bigger than a public market. We are positioning the project as the Southern California destination on the vibrant LA waterfront and creating a truly reimagined waterfront experience that we are calling West Harbor. Now, all of you South Bay cities are probably saying, how did they do that? And why are they West Harbor? But let me step back and explain that the name West Harbor gives our site the feel of a distinct new neighborhood in San Pedro, where you might hear someone say, West Harbor, where's that? Well, we're glad that they're going to say that because we believe that it's going to create FOMO, or the fear of missing out, that makes you think, I need to go there. So if you come to Los Angeles, you wouldn't dare not visit West Harbor. Quite honestly, we're hoping we can lure a lot of people from going to Santa Monica. And I don't think your group has Santa Monica in it. I don't want to get in too much trouble there, but we believe that the LA waterfront is way overdue for a major destination. In addition, the name West Harbor places the development in Los Angeles on the coast and in the harbor. West Harbor also distinguishes from Long Beach, which occupies the east side of the harbor. The community of San Pedro and its historic and unique sense of place is inseparable from West Harbor. It informs every aspect of the project, and we are confident that one cannot talk about West Harbor without also talking about San Pedro. Now, I've already switched over to give you a glimpse at the new West Harbor brand, which is based in part on international signal flags. West Harbor draws on the rich maritime heritage of San Pedro, industrial shipbuilding, fishing, and international trade. Lots of it. We see it sitting out there, lined up to come in every day right now. We use the graphic language of the flags as a building block for a brand that is flexible, colorful, and powerfully creates a sense of place on the waterfront. While the logo is quite simply a translation of the letters W and H from the signal flag system, we give ourselves some liberty to use the flags in a more playful and symbolic way throughout our brand and visuals, which you're going to get a chance to see. I want to share our color palette, which we're very proud of. It's a dynamic color palette, a slight modification of the primaries used in the signal flags with the addition of a bright, punchy orange. I don't know if you can see my pointer. We're very happy with that because we think it represents the sunset, which, let's face it, the California coast is known for our beautiful coastal sunsets. The colors are reminiscent of the California coast, the ocean, and as I said, the sunset. They're bright, fresh, and yet feel classic and resonate with the surrounding working port environment. So we have a plan that allows us, as we've been talking about this 42-acre site, we will have a West Harbor Walk, a West Harbor Landing, a West Harbor Theater, West Harbor Market. And you will see designations of the signal flags that will guide you to where you want to go. West Harbor is a district for shopping, playing, eating, entertainment, and waterside activities. We can use the language of the flags to create these sub-branded experiences that can orient people with the larger site. Now, I got to go back here a second. I think I missed one. This gives you just a sense of how you may see the brand play out throughout the site. We will have large landmark signs that direct you, let's say, to West Harbor Market, and you might even take it home with you in the form of a paper bag with your goodies and treats from shopping. So this gives you a little peek of where we fit in with this expansive 42-acre space. If you compare our site to others in LA, we really blow them away in terms of how much outdoor space we have. So from a leasing perspective, our site is incredibly compelling for those businesses that are looking to grow or establish themselves in the LA market, particularly in the post-COVID environment. And I will add that it has been really overwhelmingly pleasing to see in the last couple months the volume of real interest, because people realize, especially restaurateurs and other entertainment uses, that they need to look at alternatives to the traditional mall or the traditional place that they might reside. So one of the things that James Corner Field Operations has been helping us with is creating a sense of space when you and place. We have plenty of space. We need to create little nodes, activities, and places that feel special in this 42-acre site. So we've been working, as Alan already explained, with James Corner Field Operations. He mentioned a lot of the really famous waterfronts that they've done in the U.S. And I don't think he really mentioned Navy Pier, which is one of them. But I got to tell you, they're just about ready to be completed with the Hong Kong waterfront that they've done. So their team, the team we're working with, is out of San Francisco, but they work globally. And as my boss Wayne likes to say, we truly have an internationally renowned design team working on this. And they've created a variety of activity nodes that play upon the working port. And if you look at this design and you look down on the gardens, a lot of it is based on, believe it or not, the shape of a container. And you'll find all sorts of playful, creative ways to experience. And you know, here it does say, because our promenade is 0.7 miles, but you loop in the SP, the Southern Pacific slip, not the San Pedro slip, and we really have 1 mile of waterfront that you can walk, all featuring now direct waterfront connections. You know, it used to be, when it was ports of call, you had to go into a restaurant or a business to be able to get to the waterfront. And the port's commitment to building the new promenade, the James Corner Field Operations, and if you go out there today, you're going to see a lot of it that's completed. That is all our waterfront connection, and our project will abut it. We plan to feature different experiences along our entire site, and this just gives you a little bit of a feel for what you may see in the public spaces. We have an opportunity to create unique outdoor experiences year-round. Our master plan includes unique playgrounds for children, adults, and even dogs, park-like green spaces, large-scale public art exhibits, and active recreation spaces. So there's something for everyone at West Harbor, even your dog. By the way, you'll see a little beach volleyball down there. And I met with some international beach volleyball people this morning, and they're really excited about bringing some of their tournaments to West Harbor. So here's just a look at some of the tenant types that we've been talking to and working with, and we're looking at some innovative new uses. We expect obviously to have a lot of food and beverage and a large seafood market, fast casual on the site. Much of the project tenant types we've been actively talking to, as I mentioned, lean into food and beverage, but recreation, even beyond the whale watching and the ferries and the water taxis that you can take in and out of West Harbor. We are looking at all sorts of entertainment uses too. And Alan can share a little bit down the road with you, but we've been amazed at how many people have come internationally and said, we want to be part of this. And we've had a couple French companies. We've got a British group. It's interesting to see that they're looking to LA as the place of the future and where they want to grow. The large scale seafood restaurant market, and obviously we want to have the best burger in town. We have a couple Mexican concepts that they're two primaries and they're kind of competing. I'm sure we'll end up with the best of the bunch. Of course, there'll be Italian and Asian food. And we really are aiming to have the very best of what you can culturally experience in Los Angeles. Some of it will occur in pop-up containers, which Alan will tell you about later. And then, of course, we are talking about a brewery with a very large 16,000 square foot beer garden with bocce ball courts and a large scale chess set and all sorts of fun for adults and families alike. So I'm going to just take you through the beginning steps of what we're doing. Now, this is a big, big site. I'm going to stop up here or start up here near what Alan referred to as the town square. So this would be the link to downtown San Pedro. And this is what we're calling our North Park area. This will probably really realistically come in phase 2 of the project, but we have a lot of interest here now, and we'll have the playgrounds and the uses that we've talked about, probably a play beach. So we've got several different entertainment uses here. In fact, the creative one I like is the social activity for a dog, where you bring your family and you can have a beer and you can eat, and your dog plays and eats too. And we'll have some specialty retail. Here's our main entrance point in the center here in the blue. This will be our phase 1 development. And Alan can tell you a little bit more specifics on some of these spots. We have 2 or 3 large scale, and I got to go back there, restaurants planned in this area with overwater decks that will be significant. Those overwater decks are lucky enough to be able to have a bar on them. We do have a unique, because we're part of the port land, we have a unique opportunity to have liquor licenses available, which will allow people to wander around more like you'd find in Europe. You won't be as restricted. So if you get a beer and you want to go out and walk across the promenade with your family and your kids, you can do that. We're excited about that. We feel like, especially in post-COVID, that's going to be a nice thing. Here's our brewery space that's planned, and this adjoining area is the Nederlander Theater, which Alan will tell you more about. And our intent is the Iowa and the port would like to relocate the Iowa to our site in that SP slip, and we are very supportive of that. That's not really part of our work, but we love the idea of having that as the backdrop to our theater. And so this gives you a little bit of the flavor of what Alan was talking about. We are using these big industrial buildings, but we're breaking them up, creating second floor decks. We were just working on plans to have sort of the higher end dining, most likely will be upstairs. This gives you another view of a lot of the greenery, and a lot of those trees are already out there, and opening up a whole upstairs deck here, and then more outdoor seating. So with that, I think.
I'm sorry, Kathleen, at this point, I'm going to ask if we could just open it up for questions, because we don't have a whole lot more time, and I would like to ask the audience to ask you questions in the time remaining.
Can I just flip quickly through to get Alan back on? I'm happy to answer questions, but I don't think it's fair to do until we show you. And here, outdoor beer garden. I just want to get Alan to the container space, because I feel like some of this, and here's the interior view of our brewery. Here's Alan. I'm going to turn it over to you, because
Thank you,
can line it
Kathleen.
up to answer questions.
Yes, so basically we've got an outdoor container kitchen and Nederlander 6,200 seat theater. And outdoor activities, we're going to have a lot going on, a lot of waterfront, seaside, waterside attractions, but in the interest of time, we'd love to take some of your questions.
Thank you. Steve Zuckerman, you have a question?
Yeah, at this point, what's the project schedule look like?
It looks like the port will be done with their work, which is the town square and promenade that I mentioned earlier. And that will be done sometime this summer, end of summer. We look to start, we will take the possession of the property and begin our work, if all goes well, beginning of the end of 2021 is what we're now, is the schedule we're now trying to hold.
And no super serious impacts with building cost escalation?
Oh my, yes. Yes. Okay. We're working with lenders who are, aware of this. So yes, we're having to revise our budgets a lot more often than we would have. Had we done this, COVID, we were basically ready to break ground about a year ago, back almost exactly a year ago. And then the world changed. So yeah, we've had to revise everything. So good question, yes.
I have a question. I'm curious about the kind of entitlements you had to obtain in order to do this. What were your entitlements, and where did and from where did you get them? I'm assuming the city of San Pedro, but anywhere else?
It was really the 2009 EIR. The port was very deliberate about how this went, because for those familiar with San Pedro, we're a contentious lot. And it's if 5 people will show up to a meeting in the rest of the city of Los Angeles or the county, 500 San Pedrons will show up. So they were very deliberative. They went out, they had really basically years of public meetings, and a process, and had all these workshops, a lot of people in the city and the port. And basically it was all authorized in a 2009 EIR. We've had to do some modifications, amendments. We've also, with the Nederlander Amphitheater, which was not anticipated, a 500 seat, not a 6,200 seat was anticipated. So we were going to have to do a new EIR for the Nederlanders, but that was started and it's been put on hold, but we're ready to restart. So, but that entitlement's basically the vast majority, the 375,000 square feet was in the 2009 EIR that the port did.
Britt Huspuff has a question.
Yes, gosh, Kathleen and Alan, this is such a fabulous project. I don't think you can ever have too much outdoor dining with a water view. So sounds like you are really capitalizing on that. So the Nederlander Amphitheater, what is the history of their involvement and the naming of that?
Well, they're a family-owned business, third generation. They have the Pantages is Nederlander, and they ran the Greek for 40 plus years.
Okay.
So if you went to, it was just recently kind of divvied up and had some other operators go in there. But if you'd gone to a show in the last 40 years, minus 3 or 4, you would have seen a Nederlander production. So they do Broadway shows. They have theaters in in other parts of California, Chicago, New York. They're a giant operator, and they have just really approached us with this plan of doing a waterfront, in a sense, almost to replace the Greek, to have their own venue and to, and we have better road access than they do. We have more parking than the Greek does. Anyone that's been to a show there, that's always a challenge. So it's really an exciting opportunity to have the world-class, all the top names, Paul Simon, Bruce Springsteen. I mean, I'm just going with my favorites. But anyway, it's really, that size theater will attract A-list folks and their connections, Nederlanders connections.
So they are fully funding the theater then?
Well, it's a joint effort. We're 50-50 partners in it.
Wonderful.
So yeah, it's been a great partnership.
I guess from a marketing aspect, Alan, if you don't mind, I'm just going to interject that I do believe we will probably see a different name. We're very proud of the Nederlander name because they have such a long history. We were with them, Alan, right, Monday night, and we were joking around that they have lived through 2 pandemics because they got through 1918. And they have been very loyal partners and 50-50 participants in paying the money that's had to be spent along the path. But I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't see a sponsorship and a different name as we move on down the road.
Yes,
There's really
absolutely.
nothing like this. We had a team out from San Diego yesterday, and there's a shell down there that the Philharmonic uses. There's a couple places in San Diego, but nobody has anything like this right on the water.
And if I could just add, and again, sorry, and I'm trying to be respectful of time, but I think the theater itself is so important because San Pedro, we're not on the way to anywhere. You have to deliberately want to come down. And there's so many competing uses for your dollars and your time and tourists. But if there's a show that you want to see, and people will come down for that. So it's going to expose our beautiful little town and just really put us on the map in a way that nothing else like an amphitheater or that biggest venue could.
George Chen has a question.
Thank you. Looks like you're projecting open 2022. I assume that's rather an accelerated schedule.
Yes.
Two, I'm looking at this and I'm not sure where the parking is. And I'm wondering, are there easy access to this area via public transportation, since we've been talking buses lately? And my other question is, do you envision in the future, I know at Long Beach, since I run the half marathon there every year, is there a thought that maybe some venue may say, hey, maybe we may have a marathon, half marathon, and how would you uh, make that a possibility.
Well, we used to have a Conquer the Bridge race. I don't know how far that, I don't think it was a half marathon, but we've had races in town. And I don't think we really have a map that shows it, but south of us is probably, our parking field will be something like 1,900 spaces, and south of us are another couple thousand. There's one of the nice things about us, there is really, that's all parking, and Kathleen is pointing it out. There really is, and we're taking a ride share into account and giving them special drop-offs. We're on the Silver Line, which is, I think is a real plus for us. And I think as people just have more, the new transportation modes, parking gets to be less important, because we now have a 66-year lease. And I think all this is going to change, and parking needs and requirements are changing, and there's more public transportation. I don't think we'll ever have a light rail or anything like that comes to us, but we're well set with parking requirements.
Yeah, I was just thinking with the 2028 Olympics coming, I'm assuming that you want everybody to visit that area.
Absolutely.
How would be the easiest way for them to get there? I was thinking.
Well, we're we're right at the end of the 110 freeway. It jumps right onto Gaffey, and you can take it down into Harbor Boulevard, which runs right in front of our project.
Are there any future concepts like a floating barge restaurant?
Yes, in fact, absolutely. That was part of my entertainment. We're working with Danny Salas of Harbor Breeze Cruises. He will be the overwater contractor, and we're doing things like as simple as a floating beach where you fill a barge with sand and put a tiki bar at one end, a floating pool, to the usual, the harbor cruises, the whale watching. There's just a lot of creative ideas coming our way, and in a city like Los Angeles, it's just they're coming fast and furious. So wedding venues floating, for those that remember the old Sierra Nevada the paddle wheeler that was there, and the nice thing about it is they can change. Anything you can think of that you can tie up in front of our docks is under consideration.
Great, looking forward to it. Thank you.
Looking forward to having you.
We do. We didn't mention. I just want to throw something in, because we had as I mentioned, a group up from San Diego, and they were sort of blown away. And we have 1,200 feet of courtesy slips, and the port has just put them in, and they're in place now. They're not active yet because you can't get in and out because of the construction, but it's going to be an amazing thing. And there's nobody else, from what we understand, on the coast that offers that sort of a opportunity. I think in Long Beach, they've got 5 spots for people to come in, but we should be able to handle 40 20-foot boats. So that'll be nice.
I think we have time for just one more question, and Cedric Hicks has had his hand up for some time. So Cedric, please go ahead.
Thank you, Olivia. Thank you for this presentation. My question, and Kathleen, you actually piqued my curiosity when you talked about Santa Monica. What is going to be the iconic piece that's going to be the representation of this project? When the Ferris wheel is Santa Monica, so is it going to be the Niedermeyer Amphitheater or something to that effect?
Well, we didn't fully talk about it, did we, Alan? Because we got kind of cut short, but I can tell you there's something in this image that Alan can talk to, but we've also been working on this whole concept of bringing beach recreation here. The idea of a floating beach, we really are talking about beach volleyball. And I think you may learn how to surf here. And we are actively working with 3 different wave pool groups that very much want to set up in the North Beach area or the North Park area. And I think that is going to be pretty darn iconic. But Alan, why don't you speak to the tower there?
You can see this is a group out of one of the groups out of France that has approached us. And basically it's a rotating bar. For those, again, who remember, that did have a sort of a Space Needle at Port Sacal back in its heyday. So this, with great views, this is several hundred feet in the air, and that would sort of be one of our things that, you'd light up and it could be really spectacular. But we're working on several of these concepts. The Nederlander, I think, would also be a very important part. The Iowa would be a very iconic. If Kathleen, you can go back to the Iowa slides. For those that were, if you want to see something spectacular, Google Alta-Sea and Blue Hour. In the center of that slide, the Alta-Sea on one of their big fundraisers did these incredible projections with these insanely powerful projectors and turned the Iowa into a canvas, and it was spectacular. We could see something like that changing on a nightly basis. When the Dodgers win this year or next, or whenever they win again, it would be all Dodger colors, and the Lakers, and it would be all about the Olympics when the Olympics come. So we have some different opportunities that we're working with.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to say thank you so much to Alan and Kathleen. We could talk about this all night. Unfortunately, we have such a packed schedule for the agenda that I'm going to have to end it here. But thank you so much for bringing us this wonderful project, which we know will be transformative for the LA Harbor area. So we're all looking forward to this. And please keep in touch with us and let us know your milestones so that we can make sure that we give it all our full support.
Fabulous. And thank you for the opportunity. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Bye all.
Have a good evening and a good holiday weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so next we're going to have the Service Planning Area 8 update. Research regarding more local control as far as health regulations are concerned. I believe Lindsay Lastra from the LA County Department of Public Health is here.
Good evening, everybody. How are you? I'm Lindsay Lastra. I'm a Senior Public Health Analyst for Service Planning Areas 8 and 7. I'm going to be doing a quick presentation, just an update about our public health kind of updates to our protocols, and then just a quick little snippet on a little more focus on our mental health, and just a quick update as well on a meeting that I had with some of your fellow council members. Let me just get my slide up really quick. Sorry. And let me know if you see it. Hopefully you're seeing that.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
It's not in mode. Okay, no.
Fully on. Thank you, Jackie. So again, I'm Lindsay Lastra. We really want to just kind of touch quickly on just how, I'm sure everyone's very excited. We're all looking forward to kind of seeing our normalcy get back to, our LA County getting back to some normalcy. So we are aligning with the state's plans on June 15th to ease our capacity restrictions and distancing requirements. We're also looking at making our masking guidelines updated to align with the CDC recommendations for both the vaccinated and unvaccinated. We're also going to be following the state on lifting the current travel restrictions on June 15th to match what the CDC's travel recommendations are. And obviously the county is going to be looking at amending or even retiring some of our health officer orders or protocols on June 15th so that it all kind of coincides. And it takes, obviously a little time, which is why we're trying to take it slowly and make sure everyone's prepared to do all these changes. Really want to just share quickly around our vaccination efforts, just showing how our vaccine efforts are really going up, which is why we're able to open up. We're able to start relaxing some of our restrictions, et cetera, and really kind of focusing in on, everyone's efforts of shifting towards getting everybody vaccinated and making sure that we're able to host as many opportunities for our communities as possible. But with that, we really want to focus in on spot 8, in particular to those cities, communities that are don't have the same number of vaccinated individuals. And so we really want to start really pushing out that messaging and trying to make it very easy for folks to get vaccinated. So as you see, the 3 areas that are highlighted here that have the lowest number of percentage people who have been vaccinated We look at Westmont, West Athens, Wilmington, and San Pedro. So, you know, we really want to focus, and I was glad to hear about the efforts happening in San Pedro with waterfront efforts, but, you know, focusing on how do we get their vaccine numbers up. You've heard a lot of the, hopefully maybe those incentive programs that you're hearing a lot of, and we're really trying to get the vaccine into the community, especially where it's hardest, where we're seeing the less people getting it. So wanted to just show this map, and I'll send you these slides right after this meeting so that you have them. The dots here point out where all the sites are around our department. The light green areas, and I'm sure you probably can see it as well, but the light green areas indicate areas that have a higher need or lower resources. And then we really try to overlay our vaccine sites to match those sites or those areas. So we really are trying to focus in on those areas that have a higher need. I do want to just really share and promote this. If you all have any partners, any organizations, any businesses that want to have a vaccine site at their facilities or at their locations, we are providing these mobile vaccine units that are coming out to do the vaccine. And so we'll gladly connect. And if you see that link at the bottom, that's where you would go and request that service. So I really want to kind of shift away from the vaccine COVID, and then just really, as we kind of continue this conversation that we're all having, focus in on those high needs in spot 8, or so around our kind of high risk health issues. And so one of them, mental health, was a high indicator for spot 8. So I really wanted to share some resources today. The first one is the SALT program, or it's not a program, it's a group. It's led by Department of Mental Health. They are a stakeholder engagement system, and they host like a forum for consumers, families, service providers, and the community representatives. And what they basically do is provide recommendations on how local service systems are happening in spot 8. They have mental health service needs they host or ensure that there's the services are there for the geographic area. They make sure that the services that are available, or resources that are available, are efficient and effective, and they promote a two-way communication between DMH and the various groups and geographic communities. And so we really want to focus in on that. There is a group in spot 8 that is directly linked to mental health, and so we want to make sure that if anybody here is interested, they do have a meeting once a month. They meet the first Friday of the month. And if any folks are interested, they can reach out to that email, salt8@dmh.lacounty.gov, to get more information for the meeting. And the second resource I wanted to share with you all was around the other mental health group that meets out in spot 8 is the health neighborhood. There's actually 2 in spot 8. One is located in Long Beach, but it's considered spot 8. And then the Hawthorne Lennox group. So both groups are coalitions. They're county led by DMH, and they're basically just around coordinated care, bringing in together partners, enhancing services, and doing a lot of community collaboration. So really trying to just bring you these ideas and potentially connecting you to some of these resources so that you are able to better provide for your constituents, your clients, or any of your any people that maybe are interacting with you all. And my last message today was to just share some really exciting news. So I did meet with a few of your fellow council members, really around helping to establish kind of a better understanding about health in spot 8. So we were looking to partner with Beach Cities Health District, along with Department of Public Health, which is myself, my team, the COG, and SD4 and SD2, so South Supervisor District 4, which is Supervisor Hahn, and SD2 with the Supervisor Mitchell, and really coming together to discuss, kind of hone in on some of those key health topics that we discussed in our previous meeting, and really trying to hone in on a particular topic that maybe we all have an interest in and try to really move the needle forward. So more taking this kind of conversation that we're having here and make it more actionable by actually moving some things forward in the community of spot 8 and in the various cities. So I'm really excited about how this is going to go, what this would look like going forward. We haven't had any meetings yet, but I'm just really wanting to introduce this as a potential partnership that we're really looking forward to and we're excited to have. The work group will serve as a link to all other city meetings in the South Bay to improve communications about public health any issues, public health issues, and coordinate efforts with you all. So that's it for my presentation. Trying to be quick because I know you guys have a short, quick meeting. You have too many things on your agenda. Any questions?
Olivia? I can't see.
Sorry, I'm sorry, I was muted. I have a couple of points. First of all, the vaccine sites, if someone is interested in collaborating with you for a vaccine site, can you please put that link in the chat room? Because the link went by so fast, I couldn't copy it, but I think some people would be interested, including our city, I know would be interested in requesting a mobile vaccine site. So if you could put that link in the website, I would appreciate it.
I will do that as soon as I'm done because I can't present and type it in this chat box. So as soon as I click out my slide, I will.
I can do it, Lindsay. I'll add it.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you. Jennifer Lamarck, do you have a question?
Sure. No, I just wanted to thank Lindsay so much for this great presentation. We really appreciate you meeting with us. And I think we should really take advantage of Lindsay's expertise and Beach City's expertise. And our office is very supportive of this idea of a work group and look forward to being a resource as well. So thank you all, and thank you, Lindsay.
Yes, and again, for that information as well, the work group, can you also put that information in the chat?
We actually don't have any information yet, but as soon as we get more, we will definitely bring it back to you all. We haven't even had a meeting. We're barely starting to coordinate that. We were kind of just wanting to do a big announcement of it, but we'll definitely share more information as soon as we can.
Thank you so much. George Chin has a question.
Thank you. Thank you, Lindsay, for the report. Hopefully this is the ongoing forward process to, at some point in the future, our desire when we first started was having our own South Bay Health District, if you will, that's unique to our data. I appreciate it. I hope we were moving that way. With respect to the mental health care that you just presented, is that something where those who are in the homeless targeted effort, are these the same groups or that would assist those who have mental illness problem in the homelessness arena?
I want to say no. I think they have a special group that does work in the homeless with the homeless population. If you're interested in connecting with them, I can definitely bring them in.
I guess what I'm saying is, why would this not be? Because my premise is there's a lot in the homelessness community that have mental health issue we need to help, and it just seems like what you're sharing us is like staring me in the face. That's why I'm asking.
I understand now. Okay. So essentially this group would cover all of it. And then they have a specialized team that can probably do much more kind of a specialized type of outreach and work with the homeless. So this would be the group you would basically connect to say, hey, we have this population, in particular these areas. Can you please send out your outreach team or your unit that would work with homeless to really try to bring in those services and resources that they need. And so then they can do that. So this is definitely like your link into that specialized group and more specialized services and resources.
Got it. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you for asking that question.
Thank you. Thank you, Lindsay, for bringing us that information. Very valuable to all of us. And we look forward to continuing to work with you.
Thank you all. I'm very excited with working with you all as well.
Good night.
Good night.
So next we have Jackie with the South Bay COG. You're going to present the work program.
Becky, you're on mute.
David, that doesn't look like what I sent you. Maybe I should be, it doesn't have the same title. That's so interesting. Maybe I should share my screen. Oh, can you want to stop and let me do it? Okay, let me try to share my screen and see if I can. This is the one I wanted to share. Okay, is it sharing?
Yes.
Okay. Now, of course, I can't see anything.
Can you put it on presentation mode, Jackie?
Jackie, give me one sec. I had both windows open. Give me 1 second and I'll have this one up.
Unfortunately,
So Jackie, you can stop sharing. David's gonna do it.
okay. Unfortunately, I can't even, I somehow have lost control of my whole Zoom. Oh, there we go. Okay, thank you. So now, David, you're gonna share it?
Yeah, give me 1 sec. I just have to pull it up out of my files.
Sorry, guys. Well, okay, so let me just tell you while he's doing that. The annual work program is something that I present every year, and it's how we sort of plan what we look at what we've done and then proceed with what we're going to be doing. It starts, the slide that David's going to pull up second is the mission. And just to remind you every year, the mission is that we are a leadership forum. We act collaboratively, we advocate, and we work on transportation, environment, and economic development. The one thing about our mission this year is we might want to add social equity and social issues, because that is not part of our mission currently. So you might want to think about that when we get to the end if you want to add that. Our vision is that we're environmentally sustainable, we improve mobility options, we have a healthy economy, and we once again collaborate and advocate. But David, you're not getting there. Okay, second slide. Go to the second slide, and now the third slide. Okay, guiding principles. You know all this. The items in blue are the ones that are the most important. Cooperation, collaboration, advocacy. When your city has something they want us to support, like a letter of support for a grant, we always send letters and do other kinds of things that support cities. We identify challenges and opportunities that are within the South Bay and go beyond your borders. We look for common concerns and solutions to those concerns. We represent the interests of the South Bay, and we seek resources for the benefit of the whole South Bay. Next slide. You went backwards. Okay, the strategic plan goals, I don't know if you notice, because I'm not sure everybody does, but in every one of the staff reports, we cite a goal and we say this goal, this memo is picking up on this particular goal. And those goals have to do with educating and implementing and facilitating programs, advocacy, communications, and the stability of our organization. Next slide. And once again, we try, you'll see these are the kinds of things we put in every staff report. We try to add value to our members and monitor trends, and I'm going upwards, protect South Bay issues and work on issues of interest to all of us. Next slide. Last year, we leveraged the outside funding by 6 times the amount that we received in dues. We consider that pretty good. I think it's actually better this year, but we really are working very hard to find outside funding for the kinds of things we're doing for you. We constructed the fiber network and designed the local travel network. And we also developed new partnerships for the South Bay Environmental Services Center, maintaining its viability. Next slide. And our major programs, we're gonna have this on our website. So if you want to take more time and share it with your family, these are some of the programs that we have done this year. And you know, I checked with the staff. I said, this can't be true. In COVID, we did have over 100 virtual events this year on outreach. And we normally have in-person events. We hit the ground running. We have not stopped. And we've had those events without. And we've done all the other work that we normally do. Can we go to the next slide? We also have spent a lot of time on advocacy, especially with the housing white papers and meeting with legislators, and then Measure R&M, working, looking at issues coming out of Metro, and looking at the EIRs from the LAX and the Green Line. Next slide. And then I don't want to let this year go by without once again saying that we we really responded to COVID in a lot of different ways. We had workshops on telework. We delivered programs and we delivered on all of our programs. We had extraordinarily more meetings. For example, planning directors used to meet once every 2 months. And with COVID, they wanted to meet every month. City managers were meeting every week for a while. So we actually had more work this year in a lot of ways than we normally do. Next slide. Going on to the next work program. Oh, okay, thank you. Next slide. Our revenue this year, once again, 6% is coming from dues now, and 90% is coming from grants. So our dues are highly leveraged. And this is the same chart that I think you're going to see in the budget. Next slide. Our priority areas this year are going to be on the fiber network. We have a lot more to do. And with COVID, somehow we're like the hottest game in town because everybody wants to figure out what we did and how we did it and how we can expand what we've done. Measure R and M, we're working on micro mobility in the local travel network. South Bay Environmental Services Centers programs are going strong. And as I said, when we realized that homelessness and senior services and some of the other things we're doing are part of our program, we created a category called social welfare, equity, and access. So those are our priority areas. Next slide. For the fiber network, in this coming year, we want to grow the network. All the cities are connected. Our partners are going to be connected by the end of next month. The COG will be connected by the end of next month. And we want to find other ways. For example, we're excited about the interest of Torrance, for example. There's a lot of businesses and others that are around the Torrance airport. And I know we're looking at how we can possibly help bring our network to some of those places and extend the network out. We're going to provide education on opportunities, obviously develop applications. But as I said, the region is so involved now. LA Economic Development Corporation, BizFed, the LA County, they're all working on digital divide and digital literacy, and they've invited us to participate in all of their groups. And we hope to learn from them and also teach them what we're learning. We're trying to, we have several pilot project applications in for smart neighborhood centers, specifically in our disadvantaged communities, but we're hoping we get funded so that we can pilot a project. And essentially, we want to build on the success of what's turned out to be an award-winning project, which we're very excited about. Next slide. Transportation, we still have Measure R and M to implement, and we're working with Metro to be able to do what we want to do with those funds. One of the things we want to do with them is use some of those transportation funds to put applications on our fiber network. We still want to watch where the express lane revenue is going, since state law says that any excess should come to the areas in which it's collected. Local travel network development and implementation, EV infrastructure, we want to do more with that. And then telework. We want to make sure that we really understand what we've learned in COVID and how productivity and job performance and all kinds of things can be addressed in the trip not taken, which will be in the South Bay is actually a much higher effective strategy than transit, for example, where our mode share in telework is higher than our mode share in transit. And I should just throw in a plug at the June board meeting, we will have some great speakers on telework. Next slide. Environmental programs. Kim Fuentes has done an incredible job getting continued funding in this time when we couldn't go out and do anything in person for the Environmental Services Center. We've been working with school districts. We've been working on energy efficiency projects. We're benchmarking facilities. We want to do more with climate action plans and implementation plans. We want to, I don't know if you remember, a lot of you are new, but we did baseline greenhouse gas inventories several years ago, and it's actually time for us to redo those inventories and see how everybody's doing, the progress cities are making. And we've been able to get a Civic Spark person who's going to help us with that. So we're very excited because we'll be able to keep your city's inventories pretty current then. And then water saving devices, and we're wanting to work more with businesses on what we can do on green building assist. And we're always seeking new partners. Next slide. Social welfare, equity and access, homeless services. I report every week, and I know Grace will too, on the regional coordination, on our the funding that we've done, some of the great programs we've been able to fund. Jim, could you mute yourself? And then we've done these educational modules, which I hope your cities are using them. We've done one for every city, and we hope to be able to bring them more into the community. Home Share South Bay, we really want to promote that, and want to thank Councilman Cruikshank. RPV TV did a 30-minute show on the COG, and Home Share South Bay was a significant part of that, and we're very excited about that. And we want every city to become an age-friendly city. Next slide. And then this year will be a big push with our hopeful new regional planner. You should know that we already have the job description circulating, so that by the time the new fiscal year starts, we might have somebody on board who is going to help us with South Bay housing policy and meeting the local needs of your cities. And this person will work with me, Wally, and the community development directors. So we're very excited about that. Tonight you passed the MOU with SCAG to do the regional early action projects, and this person will be working on that. So we think it'll be, hopefully we can get a very flexible person that can work with 15 cities in the COG, and we'll have an incredible resource I think that you'll all appreciate. Next slide. Advocacy, we got to continue what we're doing in the state, because I don't know if it's like hitting your head against the wall, but I think it's something we all need to do with the housing legislation. So we've been having those meetings, we'll continue. We want to show that our South Bay strategy focusing on neighborhoods is an effective way to respond to the state's issues of climate change, housing, and transportation. Local travel network again, and then some of these other issues. Let's go on to the next slide. And then I wanted to put this up because I thought this was an interesting slide that I deal with all the time. SPA 8 collaboration is what Lindsay just talked about. And I think it's really, this is not funded, but I think it's something that's extremely important that we need to do. And so we're pursuing this, and we hope that if something comes out of it, there will be ways that we can work with SPA 8, the county, beach cities, and maybe get some money for coordination. But we think this is worth our time at this point. SB 1383 is a new requirement on cities. You're all going to have to do food waste, do things with your food waste. I talked to the city managers about this, and I said, you know, if you all have the same requirement, what about if the COG, is there some way the COG can actually do something that benefits the whole region? So I'm going to start meeting with them. I don't know enough about this myself, but Kim and I are getting involved in this. We think this is a program that we may be able to get funding for, maybe working with the sanitation districts or even your local carriers. So I would hope that you, waste carriers. So I would hope that you would watch out, because if this is really a regional program, we might be able to do it more effective regionally. Responding to state legislation, which we do not have funding for, but is an imperative. It's local control, and I think that's what you're all here for. And it's something that's extremely important to all of us. The city of Torrance has asked for us to look into regional coyote management. We're going to be discussing that at the steering committee. We've done this before. There is no funding for it at this point that we know of. You've asked us to monitor the city health department formation, and there are cities that are forming their own health department, and I just want to keep track of that for you and let you know at this point there's nothing for me to say. And then the city managers also asked for a regional approach to illegal fireworks. We sort of tried that about a year or two ago, and I'm going to have to talk to them more about that, because I'm not sure how we can be effective there, since several of our cities actually have ballot measures that control that. So those are some of the things that we've been asked to do. Next slide. We have a Caltrans grant that's pending for neighborhood centers. We've applied for some of the federal earmarks or community projects, which I think I was talking to Senator Feinstein's office, who was very interested in what we submitted, but she said I think they had 800 projects. So I don't think, we can keep our fingers crossed, but I don't lose your blood supply. We have grants that we're always applying for. We haven't gotten in the office, but possibly we could sublease some of our office, and then partnerships. Next slide. we can go through the next slides rather rapidly. We have working groups. This is all of the working groups we have. We can, and maybe we can even add SPY working group when that happens. But you can see we want to know everything that's going on in your cities so that we can share best practices. Many of these working groups have no agendas, but park and recreation, community development, and they just share things that they want to talk about. Next slide. And then we have our partners who fund the South Bay Environmental Services Center and our additional funding that we get from the county, from the Workforce Investment Board. We're not getting any money from them right now, but they have been a wonderful, wonderful partner for us. Next slide. Collaborations. We belong to these organizations that you see. We don't belong to them. We work with these organizations that you see. And when I say cities must do their part, you need to share with us what you're doing so that we can be effective and we can speak for the region accurately. And then supporting our grant applications. We really appreciate the fact that cities have been helpful with that. Next slide. Next steps. This is actually an approval item to approve the work program. Supporting the COG. We ask that you support us throughout the year and collaborate with us. And I'll just make one reminder that back at the mission, it does not include anything about social equity programs, in case you want to say anything about that. Let's go to the next slide. I think it's the last slide. Oh, we have testimonials. We try to collect them every year, and Grace she gets the A for testimonials. These are people that attend our homeless workforce and they find it valuable. And it has created a network that better serves the community. And they're grateful to the COG. And senior services, same thing. This is somebody from the Torrance community, I think, who is working on the South Bay Village and is on the Torrance Commission for Aging. And she appreciates that we bring them all together. Next slide. Questions? So that concludes my presentation. And I ask for your approval of the work program.
Jackie, I have one thing I wanted to add. I see that there was no mention of the police meetings that we had, the police workshops, where we were trying to get the cities together to talk about the relations of the police departments and how they could improve those relations and improve communications with the police departments. I thought those were very valuable. I think we could probably add those in as advocacy.
I'm so sorry. As I did it, as I saw the list, I thought, oh my God, I had forgotten to put them down. You're absolutely right. And I'm actually very proud of all of you that you wanted to have those workshops. So we will go back and I'll put something in under advocacy.
This is an ongoing problem, and I think we should continue to have them in the future.
Okay. So, okay, so you want me to put it in for this year, advocacy?
For this year and next year, yeah, coming up as well.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, I would like to make the motion to approve the work program. I think it is amazing. I want to congratulate you and staff for all of the amazing work that you do. And
I had a question.
It's my pleasure to make the motion. I need a second.
Second.
Now go ahead with your question.
Yeah, actually, for me, maybe I might be the only one. This is the first time I saw this presentation. Is the approval for this package time critical, or should we look at it and possibly do it next board meeting? This is just my question.
I guess the reason I usually do it in closely in conjunction with the budget is that the budget is being based on this. You can the budget isn't going to be approved till next month, so it's really up to you if you want me to bring it back.
That's my suggestion, because this first time we saw it, then we're asking to get approved. Maybe that's just how I think.
I usually do it this way, so you're right. I would have loved to have gotten it to you early. I'm sorry.
Any other comments or questions, Hildy?
Thank you. Yeah, Jackie, this is quite a work plan. You get a ton done. I really appreciate that. I'm wondering if you need a reference to including your language about the mission, to include the racial equity piece of your mission statement when we make this motion to include it. I just wanted to have a friendly amendment maybe to the motion to include that one section if that's necessary.
It would be necessary if that's if you want to do that.
Oh, I'll ask for an addition to in the motion for that language in the mission statement. Whoever was the maker of the motion, I'm not sure who it was.
Olivia. was
I
the
made
maker.
a motion.
Is that acceptable, Olivia?
Yes.
To you? And the seconder, I don't know who said, you were the seconder, weren't you, Hildy?
It was not me.
It was
Oh.
Britt.
Oh, Britt, is that okay with you?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so I will add something to the mission on social equity and social access and whatever, yeah.
Drew, you have a question, comment?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. Actually, I concur with all three previous statements. I think we should continue to revisit the work that we did with the police departments. I'd be curious to know how much progress we've made with those agencies across our cities. I also concur that we should include diversity, equity, and inclusion in part of our guiding principles or something similar to that. And then I also believe that, to Councilman Chin's point, it's interesting to me, I guess I've been on this for several years now. I didn't realize that this is really a work plan. And when I reflect on what our city does, we typically do the work plan first, which then guides the budget and how we're going to allocate resources. And we typically start with a strategic planning session of sorts, which in this environment is a little different because we have so many members on the board of directors. Maybe it could start with the steering committee, but I wonder if there's an opportunity to have another meeting, like a workshop of sorts, where we could decide with the past chair, the incoming chair, and a couple other members of the steering committee, what is it that we'd like to get achieved strategically in the next year, and what, if any, discretionary funds from the budget are available to achieve that. So it's really an observation from a procedural standpoint.
I will defer to Jackie first to respond to that. Jackie, how feasible is that for us to do it that way? I concur with Drew's analysis, but I want to make sure it's something that you can do.
Well, okay. This is this is very exciting to me because I have presented this every year, and you're actually, you're paying attention, you're seeing what it is. It's an awful lot of work. And I would love to spend some time going over it in more detail. Usually I do it in April. We have the budget in May, but there still isn't that strategic session that you talked about, Drew. If you'd like, we can either add this, I can add some more kind of strategic discussion to the steering committee agenda coming up June 14th. And we might want to talk about it there as how it fits in with the budget and some of those things. And we might want to add that to the steering committee. That might be the best use of your time, or we can create a special meeting with several members that want to come.
Drew, do you want to respond to that? What do you think?
I was going to, actually, Madam Chair, I was going to defer to you in terms of how you'd like to get it done. Either way works for me. I just think that that process at the beginning is important. And
I think there should be a special meeting for it because the steering committee, has other priorities. And if we're going to do this as a priority, it should be by itself. I'd like to see it as a standalone.
Would you like me to invite everybody, whoever would like to come, or just the officers, or is there any?
I think you should invite everyone, and then I don't think we should have a quorum as such. I guess we would have to, right? Can we have a special meeting without a quorum as far as that? The reason I'm saying that is because if we don't necessarily have to have a critical mass of people in order to have a meeting. We should invite everyone, but if everyone doesn't come, I think we should go ahead with whoever is there.
Okay, well, if we do not have a quorum, then we won't make decisions at that meeting, but you can give, direction.
Okay, well, then we'll have to have a quorum. But I don't have a problem with inviting everyone. I think everyone, I'm assuming everyone would like to be a part of this. So I think everyone should be invited. So let's go ahead and have everyone invited, and hopefully we'll all come. Maybe you can send a poll around us, a poll so that we can get our availability.
Okay, and this will be before the June 24th board meeting.
Correct.
Okay, Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we'll table the approval for the work program until then. So then the question becomes, when will the work program be approved? Will it be approved at that meeting, or will it be approved at the next board meeting?
I think it should be approved at the June board meeting. I'll
Okay.
put it back on the agenda for the June board meeting.
All right, that's fine.
Okay. And the next is Brooke with the budget.
Thank you.
Who is sharing the screen?
All right, can I take over and share the screen, share my screen?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. All right. There we go. All right, so this is our proposed budget for 2021-22. How do you make it go forward? Sorry. There you go.
Try the right arrow or the up arrow.
Let me try the up arrow. Nope. Okay, David, I'm gonna unshare. David, can you do it?
Yes, let me pull it out of my packet.
Okay. Sorry about that. I don't know why my button's not working.
Okay, usually in slideshow, you could probably just hit the enter key.
Yeah. Okay.
Can
Next
you
slide,
see it?
please. Okay, so all of these numbers are compared to our mid-year budget that was approved in February. Our revenues are down by 97,000. Our expenses are up by 148,000, which puts us at a deficit of 245. We are balancing the budget by using funds from our general fund. So like I said, so that we have a balanced budget of 0. And this was per the suggestion given at our steering committee. So next slide, please. Next slide. So like I said, revenues are down, and these are compared to mid-year. SoCal Gas, in the past, they've always been on a calendar year, therefore, and this is our last year with them, and that is ending in December, so we only have a half year with SoCal Gas. LA County Homeless, we had one-time funding for the hygiene funds for those programs last year at the beginning of COVID. And then LA County Homeless, we've had a contract time extension with no additional funds, and the South Bay Fiber Network project the majority of it has been completed. Next slide. We have a couple of increases in revenue through Energy Coalition REN with additional funding. And then the funding that we received through the state of California, we will be using more of that this year. It has been sitting in our unearned revenue account, but we will be using some of that this year. And then we have some new revenue sources through LA County Homeless and the SCAG REAP project. Next slide. On the expense side, expenses are up. However, there is a decrease in contractual services. Again, this is from the South Bay Fiber Network. And then we have some increases in anticipation of having more in-person events and outreach events. So that would be refreshments, mileage, etc. Next slide. And then other increases are salaries, additional staff and cost of living, rent. We're paying 2 additional months this year. IT services on website support and broadband access, and then city reimbursements. That is through LA County Homeless Projects. Some funding was approved specifically for cities. So they will perform the work, they will bill it through us, and then we will reimburse them. So that's what that line item is. Next. Financial impacts. We're really happy that the COVID restrictions are being loosened. And we're hoping that things can progress and move a little bit more back to normal. Obviously, we're going to continue to monitor that as with everybody. We have some potential new revenue through Caltrans and through an energy efficiency pilot. And that's the overview of everything. And so Jackie and Kim, I don't know if there's anything you want to say or if we have questions, but that's.
Why don't we go to questions?
Okay.
Are there questions for Brooke?
The way this works, I think George, you're back. George, we lost George for a couple minutes. But the way this works, just while I'm got the floor, is that you ask questions and may give direction and tell us what you want to do. And what we'll do is we will discuss it at the steering committee and one more time, and then bring it back for adoption in June. Did you want to call on Councilman Chen?
Yes, George Chen, please.
Thank you. Sorry, I guess I don't have the dark web in my house, and I lost you for a while. I was on page 114 of the package, and somehow I don't know, I might have mentioned this before, but I go to so many meetings I forgot which one I talked about this. It's that PowerPoint slide where you have the FY 21-22 proposed budget overview. Is it?
Yes.
Is it possible to show that slide so it's easier to talk to so other people could see that? Yeah. Okay. So I'm on the amount, the column that says amount change. And this is, just want to make sure I read that right. The proposed budget is showing we'll have a, we have 13K, I'll call it overrun. Is that how I'm supposed to read that? Or
the mid-year
232.
Okay, the mid-year budget, which is the final approved budget for the previous year, for the year we're in right now, we had $13,000 more revenue than expenditure. The proposed budget, we're down right now 232. And remember, at the steering committee, you were the one that suggested that we take that money from the general fund, balance the budget. What we said was what we've been doing every year is coming back at the mid-year, and we have been successful in the past in being able to have by the mid-year having a balanced budget with grants that we've gotten throughout the year. We're hoping that we can do that again this year. But
Okay. So now I'm getting my memory back. It was at the steering committee because I saw the 232K, and it seems like that's a big surplus. Why don't we put that in the reserve? Right. But looking at this, my suggestion would be in the future, maybe we adjust our process. I know there's the mid-year thing. Is our process would be that when we propose a budget, it would be we don't propose a shortfall. Even though I know there might be a practice you get mid-year. This is just, to me, I figure that's a better fiscal discipline to produce a budget that doesn't show that we're under. That's just my suggestion. And then if we're under, anytime we have something that's an overspent under, there should be a one page that maybe have 3 or 4 bullet points, like a C-spot run chart that explains why we're under and what we're going to do to get well again. That's just my recommendation going in the future.
Well, okay, we can talk about that, but I know that as we've explained before, there are contracts that we know we're going to be getting, but we don't know in how and when and where. So the mid-year, by the time we hit to the mid-year budget, we usually are able to rectify that. And we've talked about changing our fiscal year, but I'm not sure that that makes, and I think Councilman Horvath has even mentioned, if we have a finance committee again sometime, we can consider what it would mean if we changed our fiscal year, because this is just a problem we have.
I understand. That's just my suggestion to the rest of the board as a fiscal discipline, because in the business world and industry, it's the same thing. Sometimes you don't know if you're going to get this contract coming in too, but you still have to. I don't think you forecast you're going to be overrun. That's really what I'm getting at.
Right. One other point to this is that you have staff on board, right? That's going to deliver program, and so to continue to sort of cut, and then can't really cut and let go staff and then hire staff back up again and then start the new project. So if for some reason we were not able to shore up enough to make it within our fiscal year, then we would have to do probably cutbacks and layoffs. So
if that's the response to my question, then I would say that that's probably the better way to do it, right? Or you say that I'm going to earmark this much if the discipline is, I'm going to pull out X funds from the reserves to hire new people. Definitely, the way I see it is, if you have you don't have enough money, you're showing a shortfall, and then you're saying I need to hire people. I don't think that's the right way to operate.
I think this is a much longer discussion,
right?
And it has to do with the grants and the fact that we have to have a certain amount of staff for the grants that we have. So if you would like us to talk to you offline about this, we can do that.
Sure. But hopefully you understand what I'm getting at.
Yes. But I think it isn't as simple as get rid of this staff and then we're going to be in balance. It's not.
Well, it's not so much get rid of staff, because I think in the chart package, we're actually adding staff. Right. I thought somewhere down the road, and maybe I missed the package.
No.
I got cut out, but somewhere I said we're hiring someone and we're getting raises, right? So.
Okay. We'll talk to you offline about this then.
Okay.
So do you need, I don't see any, Christian has a question or comment.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, as we are all kind of recovering and the cities are recovering from COVID, hopefully in the coming months, we can talk about maybe starting back up the finance committee. We left things on hold, and this was one of those conversations, was how to create a system, possibly by changing the fiscal year that may allow for the budget to be balanced, when we go into our fiscal year. The fact that our fiscal year coincides with agencies that are giving us grant monies leads to this kind of stopgap scenario every year. And so there very well may be ways that we can, correct those deficiencies and hopefully avoid, this type of a scenario on a go forward basis. But we do need to get that committee back up and running, and it's just a matter of when everybody feels like our cities are up for having the discussion about dues and this kind of a discussion as well.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, thank you. Jackie, do you have enough direction from us at this point?
Yes, I think so. There was no comments specifically on the budget, and we will be meeting with Councilman Chen.
All right, thank you. Transportation reports, Metro first. James Butts and Mike Bulkey and Steve Lance.
I'm here. Hang on a sec. Let me get my picture on. Let me do a quick summary, if you will, of what happened today at the Metro board meeting. They approved their $8 billion 22-23 budget was approved on consent with no discussion. A new Better Bus program was approved also on consent that added 24 new positions and provides new funding. What they're trying to do is get more frequent cleaning, get the bus speeds improved, and they also want to do a program to improve bus stops on your streets. That includes a yet to be determined incentive program that they could offer in conjunction with local jurisdictions who want to do bus shelters and other bus stop improvements. So stay tuned for what that program does. The big discussion was on what's called the Fairless System Initiative. This initiative would provide initially a pilot project with free fares for K through 12 and community college students, and possibly free fares for low-income riders. That would be about 75% of Metro's riders. There were dueling board items, one by LA Mayor Garcetti and others, who wanted to put the board to approve staff initiating the student free fare program by this coming August. And another one by Janice Hahn and Jim Butts and others, who wanted to postpone initiating the program until implementation issues and funding was resolved. The board decided to merge both motions into a single action. And what they did was they approved staff moving forward cautiously, but made it clear that a number of conditions must be met before the Fairless pilot program can be launched. The conditions include completing a final funding plan, assurances that the pilot program would not impact subsidies needed for Metro's current bus and rail service and the agency's program to keep the system in a state of good repair. And then simplifying and streamlining the eligibility process for the students or the low-income riders, including an evaluation of a self-attestation process so that there wouldn't be a big difficult process to get these free fares through the TAP program. On the I-710 project, there were also two motions. Hilda Solis wanted the Metro Board to adopt a motion that would cease and desist any further work on the I-710 South EIR or EIS, and to continue working on the early action projects which address community impacts and environmental impacts. Janice Hahn was afraid that ceasing and desisting would be too permanent. She agreed that the program needed to be retooled, that they needed to relook at what the 710 project actually is going to be. And she wanted to defer the Solis motion for 45 days to allow better input from Caltrans, Metro, and the other stakeholders on reimagining what the big project would be, and to make those operational improvements, but not widen the freeway right away. A compromise was reached in which Solis' motion was approved with a change that the term cease and desist was changed to suspend. So it became much more temporary and it allows the work to go forward. I think that's it.
One quick thing, if I could add, Madam Chair.
Please
Yes,
do.
please.
When it came to the Fairless system, the board was split because, there are some people that just want to go all in and set a start date, but the majority of us feel that you can't start something like this if it's not going to continue. You're not going to be able to give people free bus rides and then say, oh, we can't afford it. So we're very cautious about doing this based on grants or one-time monies. And we're definitely opposed to draining projects that need to be completed to have a Fairless system. And so in the end, we came to a reasonable middle point where we're going to wait till the new CEO comes on, and we want to see a plan, because this is not something that you're going to be able to do and say, oh, it didn't work.
Yeah.
So they eliminated the August start date from the motion. And they don't want it to affect not just the operations, but also capital projects. They wanted to make sure that it didn't defer either of those types of projects. Questions?
Questions or comments for Steve or for Jim?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Christian has the Transportation Committee report.
Yeah, not too much to report, Madam Chair. We did discuss the FSI that Steve and Mayor Butts just addressed. This month coming up, we're going to have a presentation that didn't happen this month, which was on EV charging innovations. I believe it should be coming. They didn't make it, but our main presentation and discussion was just around the Crenshaw North Extension study and the 4 alternatives for connecting the Crenshaw line as it will eventually go live up to potentially the Hollywood Bowl. And that's it.
The EV charging will come in July. There won't be a June meeting.
Okay. There you go.
Thanks.
Thank you. Program action items, reports and updates. So now we have the, we'll start with the nomination committee report. I will just say that we have met the nominating committee. The members are Britt Huff, Christian Horvath, Jim Gaisley, and myself. We have met. We are presenting tonight the following slate of officers for 2021-22 fiscal year, starting July 1st, 2021 and ending June 30th, 2022. For the chair, Drew Boyles, Mayor of El Segundo. For the first vice chair, John Cruikshank, Mayor of Rancho Palos Verdes. For the second vice chair, Cedric Hicks, council member of Carson. And the recommended at-large nominees to the steering committee are Hildy Stern, council member Manhattan Beach, Rodney Tanaka, council member Gardena, James Butts, Mayor Inglewood, and George Chin, council member Torrance. And all candidates have agreed to serve if elected. So right now, what I am asking the board to do to receive the report of the nominating committee and open nominations from the floor for the officers and the 4 at-large steering committee positions. So at this time, I'm going to ask for discussion on this issue. And so in other words, nominations are open. And is there anyone who is interested in being a nominee for any of these positions?
Drew has his hand up.
Drew, please go ahead.
Yeah, Madam Chair, just remind me on the bylaws, are we limited to the number of at-large members of the steering committee? Or is there some latitude in terms of the number of members?
Oh, for the steering committee, I think we didn't add any more to the steering committee. We are limited to 4 at this point because we didn't add any more.
It is not, it's not in the bylaws. The bylaws doesn't, what happened was we had, you wouldn't know it from Zoom, but we had a tremendous problem finding a quorum at the steering committee years ago. And so we added, as policy, we added these 4 members. There is nothing in the bylaws that says you need to add the 4 members at all. So there's no number in the bylaws. It's a policy.
Okay, thanks, Jackie. But is it a limit as well?
Well, the policy said 4. I mean, so that was the policy.
So we would have to change the policy then in order to add more. And we haven't done that.
Would this, and as something we'd have to put on an agenda for a future meeting then? Or could we do that this evening?
But are you lonely, Drew?
No, I only asked, thanks, Jim. I know that's you, even though I can't see you because of your voice. I only ask, Jackie, because I've been on, as has Madam Chair Olivia and Christian Horvath and John Cruikshank and you, Jackie. I've been on probably 12 calls with legislators and staffers related to housing specifically. And Councilmember Stacey Armato from Hermosa Beach has been integral in those meetings based on her work with contract cities on the Ledge Committee and all that. So I bring it up to suggest that, I think she's a tremendous asset, especially as we're dealing with this plethora of housing bills that continue to come down the pike. And that's why I asked. So.
I think, first of all, everybody's invited to come to the steering committee, but if you want to change it, I think you can make a motion to ask that that be brought back to the next meeting, I suppose.
Well, if, you know, if we're the board, I guess we could change it, you know, we can, I do not see any, if this is a policy position and the board makes policy, well, this is a board meeting. I don't see any reason why we couldn't do it tonight if we want to do that. So, what is your pleasure? Are you suggesting that, Drew, or what are you suggesting?
Yeah, no, Madam Chair, I think she'd make a great addition to the steering committee. So I'd love to increase the number to 5, and I would nominate, I don't know if she's willing to serve. I don't know if anyone's asked her, but I think she'd make a great addition to the steering committee. So I would nominate her if she was willing to serve.
So
I'll second the nomination.
Serve as on the steering committee, you're saying?
Yeah, as an at-large, we have the chair, the vice chair, second chair. I was saying as an at-large member,
Yes.
I think she'd make a great addition.
All right. Is there a second?
I second James Butts.
Okay. So,
This will come back next month then as one of the people from the floor.
I actually had my hand up.
yes, George, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say if it helps move this meeting along, you know that I've been participating in the steering committee meeting only because I was interested in gaining information. If we can move it along, and if Stacy wants to serve, I don't want to put her on the spot there. Then we could go along, and then I will be actively participating, anyway. But we could do it next month.
Well,
I'm not saying. Yeah. I just.
Well, let's back up and ask Stacy. Is she here?
Okay.
Stacy?
I'm here. Thank you.
Okay. You've heard the motion. Are you interested in serving?
I absolutely am. I thank you for asking, but George, I'm not here to take anyone's place. So if y'all are interested in a 5th person on the steering committee, I'm very happy to do that. If not, no problem. I'm not interested in taking someone else's spot on the slate.
Okay. Beatrice, B, you have your hands up.
Yeah, no, I just, obviously Stacy is on the head of our legislative committee on California contract cities. She's doing a great job there. So this is not in any way anything against her, but I think in terms of the protocol, I do remember, because we're on the bylaws, there was a reference in the bylaws that it would be for members on the steering committee. So I think in order to have it agendized, we need to not do it at the same meeting. What we have here is of the 4 members, is there anybody wanting to nominate themselves? And then we have a vote on who the members would be. But I don't think increasing it is in there, nor having somebody, I guess, unless George Chen is saying he does not want to serve, there wouldn't be a vacancy. So I'm just saying this all could be done in another meeting, but I just think it needs to be agendized, and as to whether we're going to increase the steering committee.
All right, so this would have to be at the June board meeting then. And,
yeah,
and
so it could be on the agenda.
You mean it would have to be voted on at the June board meeting, and we would agendize it for the June board meeting?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think proper protocols call for.
Okay. I don't disagree with that. So, okay, so we can go ahead and do that, because we're not going to make a final vote on this until the June board meeting anyway. So we can add that to the agenda for the June board meeting, that we will be considering adding a 5th seat and adding Stacy Armato for the 5th seat.
Okay.
Madam Chair, Olivia, may I?
Hold on one second. I'm just taking notes so I make sure I get this. Okay, so is everyone in agreement with that? is there anyone who disagrees? And so we will wait, we will have the vote at the June, we're going to have the vote at the June board meeting anyway for the final slate. But we're going to also be voting on adding a 5th seat and having Stacy Armato added to our slate. So we'll have 5 at-large nominees in that case, and that will be the proposal at the June board meeting. In the meantime, is there anyone else who is interested in being on the steering committee? Is there anyone else who's interested? Seeing no one, go ahead, Drew.
Oh, no, sorry. I thought I lowered my hand. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Okay, anyone else?
Madam Chair, why don't you let anybody that wants to be on the steering committee be on there? If there's 8, 10, what does it matter?
Well,
Whoever
anybody
shows
can,
up.
anybody can attend the steering committee and vote.
And their vote counts, right?
Yes, yes, as long as there's not more than one from a city.
So if there's numerous people attending the steering committees now, I was on there when we struggled to get 4 and have a quorum.
Right.
So if someone wants to be named a steering committee member, I don't have a problem with if you put 8 on there, or whoever wants to do it. Is there anybody else that wants to be put on there? Speak up.
The other way to go is
and that's what I said. We were opening it up. We're opening
the other way
it
to
up.
go. The other way to go would be to eliminate the 4 altogether, and say that we just have the officers, and then everybody else.
But once we go back to in-person meetings, we're going to have that problem again that we had before of getting a quorum. This is why we did this in the first place, because we were having a problem with a quorum. And now that we're in the COVID environment where we're having Zoom meetings, it's very easy to attend, but I guarantee that we'll go right back to the old problem of not having a quorum. And so I like the idea of having at-large members.
And not to belabor this, but for the last several years, we haven't had a problem with the quorum, even before COVID.
Okay. All right. Hildy Stern has a comment or question.
Yeah, I too am sorry if we're belaboring this, but I wonder if we should just put this on the next steering committee meeting. Let's look at whether it's in our bylaws. Let's look at whether that policy has been codified. And maybe we can just make a recommendation, including adding Stacy to the nomination list at our June meeting, and make that as a full recommendation so that we just have an informed decision. It doesn't sound like we know exactly where this policy or this practice has come from.
You're saying add it to the steering committee meeting as opposed to the next board meeting.
Well, that comes before the next board meeting.
Right. But you're saying have it at the steering committee meeting for consideration for the next board meeting.
Sure.
Madam Chairwoman.
Yes, Jim, you have a question? Yes.
Yeah, this is like getting really complicated now. Like I've been in a Metro meeting since 11 this morning, and then I jumped off to get on this meeting. Honestly, and I'll be very honest with you, rather than go through all these machinations, why don't you just give her my spot or nominate her instead of me, and then I will come, I'll still come, but I don't have to be named. I just think that'd be simpler than having to agendize it and go through all these machinations.
You can't get out of it that easy, Jim. Sorry.
Oh,
Not
you are
taking your spot.
you are so mean.
Not taking your spot.
Okay,
okay. Why don't we put this?
Jim, Jim, I understand. You want to go home, and we all.
No, I don't want to go home. No,
we're not going to do that. We're going to go ahead and agendize it and do it the proper way. And you're going to stay on the steering committee, and we're going to have the vote. So it's going to happen.
I was just trying to be a gentleman. Okay.
I know.
Why don't
I thought Jim didn't hear me. I made the same speech.
Why don't I put this on the steering committee agenda to discuss this, and then we'll bring a recommendation to the board.
Yes.
No, didn't you hear me say you were a good egg? I heard you.
Yeah, so it's going on the steering committee agenda for discussion.
You tried, okay.
Okay, we tried.
Okay, so next, gosh, what is next?
Next would be the legislative visits. And I wanted to say a couple of things about that, and then I wanted to ask the people that have been going on the legislative visits if they want to speak. First of all, SB 9 did get out of committee. It got out of the Senate, excuse me. Kamlager, Kamlager and Allen both abstained. It is our understanding after all of these visits that the reason they abstained is that Tony Atkins, the president of the Senate, whose bill it was, pretty much said that, you're being major trouble and whatever discipline there is in the Senate if you vote no. So their abstention was as far as they were going to go. So we're going to be working now in the assembly. We're going to see if we can talk to more assembly members. We're talking to people on the governor's staff or the executive branch to see what they're thinking. Wally and I are attending the Sunday meetings of the elected officials, where it's very interesting. They have assembly and senators come, and they also have lobbyists come, and so that's where we are with the legislative visits. Christian,
Jackie,
yeah.
hold on a second. Did you say that they could get punished for exercising their right to vote no?
That's what we learned.
Well, no, it must be some type of informal gangster type punishment, because that's what democracy is about. You get to vote the way you feel. So what do you mean exactly?
Okay, Jim, I'll let somebody else speak, but what we're learning is to me is not very optimistic about the gangs that are going on in our legislature. Why don't you, does somebody else want to speak to this?
I think the Senate Pro Tem, Jim, has a powerful hand, and especially SB 9 because her name's on it. And so there is the ability for them to exercise
retribution.
Yeah, over members and the committees they get and whatnot.
Okay. Okay, so that's what you're telling me. You're talking about retribution. All right, thank you. Okay.
That's very chill. That's very chilling, by the way. That's extremely chilling.
Yes.
Wow. That's, I guess I'm naive. I didn't realize that that it worked that way. My goodness. Okay.
Oh, could I say something on the meeting that Jackie mentioned? I've been attending those two on Sunday afternoon at 4. It's California Association of Local Electeds. They call it CALI. And so if anyone interested in doing it, I get a link each week. But they have been having legislators. This past time, they also had the lobbyist from Hidden Hills, who is very knowledgeable, speak about the whole process. So, and what we can do as electeds and what our constituents can do to try to stop some of these bills like SB 9 that are on a fast track.
Well, it doesn't look like we can do anything at this point, unless we can get to the governor.
Well, no, there are some things. They talked about sending letters. They called them NASCAR letters. That's just the language they use in the legislature with groups of cities where you have the city logos all at the top of the letter, and all these cities sign on saying we are against this. And there was a special language, I forget, I have it written on my notes about how you label the letter. And then for constituents, and they said if they're told, you need to pepper your legislator, both in the Senate and the Assembly, with emails and calls to protest some of these bills, and that will get action because they're concerned about getting reelected.
Okay, all right, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll put the website in the chat.
Thank you. All right, so
if no one else wants to speak, we can go on to the next, since it's getting late, we can go on to the next item.
Does anyone want to speak on the legislative visits?
I'll just say that I think they're going well, and I think they're showing us that we need to do this more often. And so it's nice to have Zoom. Our situation right now, I think, is beneficial in helping us. And I don't think it would hurt us also to start advocating to outside groups. We've talked about, advocating out to like the Sierra Club or the AARP, and also trying to make, and this is what, Wally and Jackie are alluding to with that group that's meeting of mayors or members throughout the state, but advocating with our members that maybe we have relationships with up north and in other parts of the state, so that to see where they're at and to get them to get their constituents to call their representatives. We can easily do the same thing, and we have met with some members outside of our area that are on housing committee, but there needs to just be a more coordinated push from a variety of angles. That's all.
Thank you. And I agree with you. I think that we're learning a lot about the process. And as we learn more, we learn how much we don't know and how much we need to do. And so I agree with B. I think we should take every opportunity to connect with the organizations like the California election of the local electeds and any other organizations that will help us raise our voices so that we can be heard. I think we're learning the process. I think we need to continue it, and we'll get better at it as we continue. So I think I think we've made a good start here.
Wow.
Anybody else? Okay, let's move on to local travel network.
Right. The local travel network is, we have a very, very short presentation by Wally and Aaron and me, but I wanted to say something before we started the local travel network. The I-405 multi-corridor plan just had a meeting, and David went for us. And he came back with these statistics, which I thought were amazing. 10.6 million daily trips start or end within the I-405. They account for 41% of all the trips in LA County. 80% of those trips are short, 5 miles or less. So we're all traveling 5 miles or less, even on the freeway. And let's see, 56% of them are 2.5 miles or less than 2.5 miles. And only 17% of the trips are commute trips. So that's why we think the local travel network is an important strategic response to how people are traveling nowadays. And as you know, our trips are short. So if you could put up, David, if you could put up the presentation, we're going to sort of take a very, very fast tag team on this one. This is the local travel network, and we're asking tonight for a resolution, which was included in your packet. And I will say, well, let's go on. Next slide. I can't even remember if I was going to do this or if somebody else is doing this.
Jackie, I have a procedural question. We've had a number of people, I understand from Aaron, who have come to speak on this. Do they go after? Or do they come first?
They would, after the presentation, I think.
Okay. So, I know they've been fascinated so far to hear all of the business.
So yeah,
I'm just trying to keep them from their brains exploding, actually.
We do have some speakers on this item. Okay. We have the local travel network is 243-mile network, which is overlaid on our.
Yeah, let me just do this. Okay, this was all right. Well, all we're saying here is that with slight amendments to about 10% of the streets in the South Bay, you can get a whole bunch of benefits, which I'll talk to in a second. But the big thing is here, right size your ride, and thanks to Colleen for coming up with such a great phrase. And it's like right size everything, right size your diet, right size your exercise, right size your budget. It's only prudent to do things that matches what it is you actually need to do. And so you'll find if you go around, you see at 7-Elevens and drugstores and so forth, you see people parking SUVs and big sedans. And these things are less, they're half-mile trips, 1 mile trip, 2 mile trips, maybe 70% less than 3 miles. So what we're saying is if we can make these small amendments to 10% of our streets, we can make it possible for people to right size their ride. And so let's go on to the next slide, David. This is a clarification because I have been part of conversations and overheard things in which there's continues to be a misunderstanding about what we're what we're not talking about. The people say, oh, micromobility, oh, local travel network. You're trying to encourage these horrible e-scooters that are dockless. No, we are not. This has nothing to do with dockless e-scooter rentals. Nothing. And if anybody hears anybody say something like that, please correct them and go look at, if you haven't done it already, our story map, which is on the link on the website, and it really explains the whole thing. So that's something I wanted to really clarify because I've actually heard it and it's very distressing. Next slide. So here's some of the benefits, and one of my favorites here. It'll save people money because, most people are buying more mobility than they need. They've got maybe 10, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 with the vehicle sitting in their garage. They're parked 95% of the time. Why not have something that's cheap parked in your garage if you're going to have it parked 95% of the time? So it'll save money for people going around. It should save, because the vehicles are lighter, it should save some street maintenance. It will certainly reduce congestion on the major arterials. Right now, 20% of the streets, those are the major arterials, they're carrying 80% of the traffic. We're just trying to take maybe 5% off of those roads so that they'll be more free flowing. And will reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Next slide, please. So I feel really passionately about this. RENA is requiring the South Bay to build 30,000 homes. And if you start looking at the vehicles per home, that means 50,000 more automobiles. So what this is a way to mitigate through the transportation impacts of the RENA allocation. And I hope everybody takes that extremely seriously because it's already, streets are impassable and it's horrifying. Safety will increase. That's the point. That we'll do safety not by allocating streets, not by a road diet, but by making safety in numbers. We will have, believe it or not, the lower cost. You will have more food delivery and home delivery restaurants, so you can do it at a lower cost because right now it's really expensive. And I don't know how much you care about this, but it's important to getting more and more grants. We're probably going to win an award of innovation for this, just like we did on the fiber network. So go ahead. Okay, that's me. I'm done.
Okay, this is me.
It's Aaron.
Okay, certainly. Thank you very much, and thank you all for your patience as we roll through this. So what we're going to talk about here real quickly is that this will endorse a plan to actually build or move forward towards building a local travel network. We're asking is to encourage cities to work with the COG to implement the network. This would provide better optics in terms of advancing the South Bay sustainable strategy, something that you all approved in the past. And again, our mission here at the COG. As well, I mentioned grants. This will aid us in that category. And of course, in order to implement this, we may actually have to request NEV legislation to do an NEV plan. Again, that would be something beneficial to the region and to the cities participating. And ultimately, this network will be funded through Measure M funds. We have money, you have money to pay for this. And what we're talking about here, for the most part, is paint on the road and signs. That's what this Shero system is all about. What this will not do is obligate any city to implement. We think this is a grand plan suitable for all of you and would complement the work that you're doing right now in terms of sustainability and mobility. Next slide, David. In terms of moving forward, again, this resolution will sort of direct staff, that would be myself and others, to work with the cities. And in terms of that, I would recommend and encourage you all to take a look at our final report. We have just a lot of data. A lot of it shows up in the story map as publicly accessible and educational, but we have maps and we have route segments and we have data layers. All of this to be packaged and presented to your public works, planning department, and staff. Also, some guidance for directing staff to secure Measure M applications or to to complete Measure M applications in support of this. And of course, NEV legislation if necessary. Jackie,
Next slide.
that's it.
Okay, I think, okay, we've gotten them for first. Madam Chair, I think we have several people here that have been here for a while that want to speak on this item, and I don't know with public comment how it works. You
Okay,
wanna-
so, you're
Madam
saying,
Chair, can I ask 3 quick questions?
well,
before we go to public comment?
are you speaking on this item?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Okay, I want to ask Wally and Aaron, would the city retain local control if the resolution passes?
Sure.
Oh, absolutely. We're not controlling your streets. All we're just
Okay.
suggesting is this
Will it
network.
include an evaluation of diverted traffic patterns?
It could.
It could, yeah. That's a good
Okay,
suggestion.
that's a
Thank
good
you.
program. I'm just asking some
Yeah,
questions.
no,
The
it's a
other
good
one,
question.
would there be additional funding to maintain our streets? Because, with smaller vehicles and tires, we have some potholes and cracks and stuff in the streets. Would there be funding for that?
Well, that's Measure M, isn't it? I mean,
No,
Steve?
that's maintenance. That would be maintenance. And I don't think any program will fund your street maintenance.
Okay,
Steve?
I just, those are quick questions. Thank you.
Okay,
Hey,
George,
Jim, this is Steve Lance. Your maintenance is funded from local return in Measure R and local return in Measure M.
Okay, thank you. I knew, thank you.
George Chin has a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Jackie. I don't know if you received my email this afternoon.
Yes, we did. And I thought we would get to that after we have the public comment.
Okay, then I'll come. Should I come back afterwards?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll wait. Just give me an opportunity when it's the right time.
Okay.
All right, are there other comments that you said there are other people that want to speak on this?
Right, I'm looking at, do the people that are here for public comment, do you want to just I see Ray Aldridge must be one of those people. Yes. And we have 3.
Is it time to speak?
Yes, it's time to
Okay.
speak. I see 3 of you at least. Yeah.
Well, basically, my name is Ray Aldridge. I'm the president of the Carson Bicycle Coalition. And at the easternmost end of the South Bay, I really would like to be part of this. I like our city to be part of this because it would give us a connection to the real South Bay, I guess. And it just makes sense. I did a bike ride here recently, and we were just going to drive out to Redondo Beach, and we rode our bikes and found out it was only 15-mile round trip. It was like 7.5 miles from here to the beach, and that's an easy, just get on your bike and ride, versus any other time we would have thought, oh no, never ride that far. But with this local travel network in place, that would be a commonplace thing to do. Just get on your bike and ride to the beach versus getting in the car and driving to the beach. So as the Carson Bike Coalition, we really would be glad to see that happen in our city. And we're also part of the South Bay Bike Coalition. And I think I see Jim there on the screen there also. So, we're all for it, us with our two-wheelers.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jim Hannon.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to speak, and thank you, Wally and Aaron, for putting this together. I'll tell you, I went through the package before the meeting. It's a very comprehensive, easy to understand a plan. And as Roy pointed out, him and I have been doing advocacy work for bikeways, a network of bikeways throughout the South Bay for probably 10 or 11 years. So it was long before I had this gray hair, I will tell you that. But anyway, I'm very happy to see this program. I'm happy to see the technology, the way it's evolving. It's making bicycling, scooting, all these other e-machines that are out there that are accessible for older people to get around, run errands, go to work. When you get to work, you're not all sweaty because you on an e-bike. It's some of the things that Wally mentioned earlier, I could amplify a little bit by saying that I've seen people lose a tremendous amount of weight just in a short period of time getting on a bike. So a lot of health aspects, of course, environmental aspects, cleaner air, so many reasons why I personally have fallen in love with this active transportation. And I would like to urge this committee to go forward with this plan. And I'd like to say one more thing. I found it very enjoyable to call into the meeting. And I think if you want to know what's going on in the South Bay, this is a good place to listen in. So thank you for everything you guys do.
Thank you for participating. Sean Giacconi.
Hi, thank you. So I would like to share that I am a Manhattan Beach resident and I have 4 children attending schools here. And we've had a golf cart for the last 2 years. And I greatly enjoy leaving our big Suburban at home while I use our golf cart to take our kids to school. I take them to their, all their sports activities, which there's a lot of them. To the beach. I mean, it just unbelievably, it just makes us feel better knowing that we're not taking this big gas guzzler. It's really enjoyable. It's fun. And I'm really happy to know and share that a lot of friends and a lot of our local families have, especially during COVID, it seemed like a lot of people were interested in either getting a puppy or a golf cart, because they really have just popped up everywhere. And, it's just a wonderful thing to see. Our family greatly enjoys it. And I'm really excited about, what's going to be happening moving forward with, hopefully having this system set in place to where we can really drive around safely. And we're very excited about it and grateful for it. So thank you.
Thank you for your input.
Thank you.
Amy?
Hi, my name is obviously not Amy, but my name is Billy Arrett and Amy is sitting next to me. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. We're local owners of E3 Vehicles, which is actually a company that does nothing but look for low-speed vehicle. We provide low-speed vehicles to the community, and I'll share with you guys that while it's great in our local area of Hermosa, Redondo, and Manhattan Beach, we often have questions about, can I drive to Torrance? Can I drive to El Segundo? How far into Carson can I get? And I would just like to say that I think this is a fantastic initiative, much like Ray was pointing out, that we're really not that far away from each other. And if we had the means to connect our beach cities, I think we'd see a lot more business that would flow from one point to the other. And I think this is a fantastic initiative. Obviously, I hope all of you support it. And we're here to support the initiative in any way we can. And we appreciate the opportunity to speak this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate all of you for coming in and sharing your views and giving your input. It's very valuable to know what the community thinks. Thank you for coming in.
There's one more.
There's one more, Olivia, Dan Sturgis.
Okay, Dan.
You're muted.
You're muted.
Am I able to share one slide? I don't know if I can share.
Sure, why not?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not going to do it quite yet. So I actually created the first neighborhood electric vehicle in the United States, the GEM car. I don't know if you can recognize it. I started the company in 1988, actually in Torrance, and we got into production by 95. The company is now owned by others. It's been in production for 26 years. It's had about 90% of the market over these years, and I've probably been in 3 decades of meetings about low-speed vehicles. After the company was in different hands, I was meeting with the creators of Segway, and they looked at me and they said, "You did the same thing we did." And I'm like, "What's that?" "Well, you created a vehicle. There's not a lot of places to operate it." And I used to think about it was like we were creating airplanes, but nobody was creating airports. I mean, nobody was creating the infrastructure for these smaller vehicles to actually be used. So that's why I'm a big advocate for what you're doing with the local transportation network. Now, I'm going to try to share my screen. If you can see this harbor, this is just a metaphor for me. of a harbor where these big ships come in, or these boats come in that are all ocean going, and they come into the harbor and they park, they dock. And if I lived in that little harbor and had to go see a friend across the harbor, I wouldn't use the ocean going ship or yacht to go across the harbor. We use little boats like dinghies, and we use, maybe use a rowboat or something like that. We just use smaller vehicles. And so when you have like 8 million cars in Southern California, LA County, maybe, all those cars can drive to New York City. And so we're using these giant vehicles, to go locally, which made sense before the internet, where you kind of had one vehicle and you had to use it for everything. But we have this opportunity to move beyond that. And we can have that harbor, I think of as a neighborhood in El Segundo, or, I don't know, one of the neighborhoods in South Bay. It's just you start using smaller vehicles. They don't cost much money. They're good for the environment. They're convivial. You can talk to people. Makes biking much nicer because there's less big vehicles out there. So that's all part of the kind of the vision there. If I lived in a South Bay house, I think the opportunity here is we could see a lot of second cars go away, and we'll move to more of a transportation bundle. And a small vehicle, whether it's a bicycle or electric bike or a neighborhood vehicle like mine, that becomes your local vehicle. And the fact that with COVID, we've seen how to use Zoom, and more of us are working from home, and we don't need that car in a garage that can drive to New York City. And we can use a smaller vehicle to get around locally, to get to the store. But we also expect like Uber to start having van service or self-driving vans, and your little vehicle drives to the van. And I think car sharing comes back, and you can rent the far car when you need to. And most people, we all know that it's $8,500 a year to own a car in California. But if you have a house with 2 cars, that's $8,500, and you break it down to a marginal cost, it's basically $50 a day. So if I was the car dealer and I came to the house in El Segundo and I said $50 Monday night, $50 Tuesday night, it's a ton of money. So we have an opportunity to move past that. And the local travel network is essential to making this happen. And the South Bay will be in front of the United States. You guys will be out in front across the United States showing what's possible. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. So Jackie, you need direction from us at this point?
Well, we have George Chin would like to speak, and I see that Drew has his hand up as well.
Okay. Okay. Who was first? Do you know?
Well, George asked to speak before.
Okay.
And yeah. So
Okay,
George.
go ahead, George.
Okay, we had a staff meeting with our city staff folks about this, since they were a little bit more in tune to this before I got on the COG here. So they actually submitted a modified resolution, which I sent to Chair Valentine and Jackie to make it more clear that the cities would participate in this as voluntary, as just like what I believe what Aaron Baum said in his slideshow. And that's what we would like to propose, a modified draft of the resolution. I don't know what's the process of introducing it, because
David, do you have it? Did I send it to you?
Yeah, I put it in the chat.
Okay, if I can just, George, if Councilman Chin, if it's okay, I can, what he did was, what the city of Torrance did is they changed where it says cities on the 3rd line of the title, they changed it to only to interested cities. So it's not all of the cities, it's just what's called interested cities. And then they added a whereas clause, whereas the South Bay City's Council of Governments recognizes that each South Bay city retains full oversight of their roadway network and are not bound to implement in full or in part the local travel recommendations, but may do so where they see fit and deem appropriate. And then in the resolved clause, it would say South Bay City's Board of Directors directs the South Bay cities to work with interested, it said all before, and this says interested South Bay cities to draft the ordinance. And then the next one says the Board of Directors directs the staff to work with interested cities to promote and facilitate the coordination. And then the final whereas clause says recommends that we work with interested cities to review and proceed. If I can just speak to it, the issue I have is that the resolution itself is is not binding anybody. And I'm concerned that if you add interested cities, then the whole purpose of what we're doing now is going to go out to cities and determine their interest. So it's a little bit, it's sort of like, how do we know who, if a city says right now, I'm not interested, we haven't even had a chance to brief them on what we're talking about.
And I would agree with you, Jackie. I'd like to hear from other people on this if they wish to speak to it. But this is always the case. Whenever we implement anything, we don't bind the cities to do it. We ask them, we try to encourage them to do it. We want them to do it. We talk to them and try to persuade them, but they're not bound to do it. No city is bound to do anything that we do. So it seems to me that, in my view, it seems like it's exactly what you're saying. You're kind of watering down your resolution by putting that in there. But anyway, I'd like to hear from other people. Drew, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I was just going to say that I love the gem. So I think the gentleman's name was Jim. Was it Jim that was on?
Dan.
Anyway, Dan, thank you for your leadership. We love this gem. We use it everywhere. And I'd love to see not only El Segundo, but also Hawthorne, Inglewood, and a lot of the other cities of the South Bay get connected to the hub of the beach cities. Even Torrance on the South End. I think it's a real disconnect. And anything we can do to help people get around in a safe environment and obviously lower greenhouse gas, the better. And I agree that I think the more that we can incorporate all the cities, Olivia, and get them on board without limiting the language would be great. So thank you.
Okay. Is there, Jim, you would wish to say something else?
Yes, I would, please. Listen, I think what the reason we failed in the past to re-implement something like this, a real network, is because city by city, people would implement one leg of it, but they would not implement the path that goes into another community. So basically, if you wanted to ride your bike to work, you could not get on an integrated bikeway to take you where you want to go, like you can a car. So once you have a broken system, it's kind of like having a roadway system that won't take you where you want to go, won't take you to work. So naturally, you have less people to participate in this. So the more integration, the more convenience, the safer it is for people to ride their bikes or ride their e-bikes or whatever means it is, the more people we're going to have to participate in this program. It is a plan, by the way. I mean, this document is a plan. It's not a contract. They're not bound to, implement a portion of it or all of it, but they should look at it themselves and determine what they want to do. And that's the citizens of that community. But I'm hoping that we'll have enough, buy-in for this to actually be a network. Then we're going to see some real changes. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to stop the discussion here, and because it's getting really late. Wally, I think you had your hand up. You'll be the last speaker on this.
Well, B also had her hand up. I can say what I'm saying very quickly. This is very, very easy. This is not like building $1 billion machine like a subway. This is a very simple initiative, and it will be evaluated, and there's no reason to not really try it. I mean, you all have the rights to not try it, but all I would say is encourage it, and if it doesn't work, then we can take it back, or we can change the routing or something like that. It's very easy to do, and Jim's quite right. The power in this is in the network, and it will stimulate your economy. I promise.
All right, so with that, I'm going to ask for.
B has her hand up.
Okay.
Yeah, for some reason, I can't work my my chat, to raise hand feature for somebody. It's frozen. I just want to say, I mean, I agree. It does make sense to have the whole network. I totally get that. And that's what this is designed for. But I think to the extent that we are not saying this is a requirement for cities, and obviously we cannot bind our cities to doing this, however great it may be to do this plan. I think it should just be stated in there that it is for that something to the effect that this is not a mandatory thing, but but encouraging cities to implement this plan and participate in this plan, something like that.
I think it says that.
Yeah, I think the resolution. Okay.
I think the modification tells you that, gives you more flexibility, more clearly, as B was saying.
So are you making a motion to an alternative motion to this then okay, so right now we do not have a motion on the floor. I'm going to move that we approve this motion. We approve the resolution as it is stated. Do I have a second for that?
Second.
I'll second it. Lots of seconds.
Okay. Now, did you want to make another motion to amend this motion? Is there another motion then? I think we have to hear that motion first if you're going to amend it.
Well, I think, regardless of the language, there should be something that indicates that it's not something that we're buying into on behalf of our cities to implement this plan, and that it's an encouragement, but not a requirement.
So are you making a motion for changing the language?
Yeah, well, I can't get in front of me. I've been having problems with my computer to get the resolution in front of me. But, for lack of better language, we can go with Councilmember Chen's language, that at least indicates that it's not something that we're saying every city has to do, but it's encouraged for them to do it.
That's really what it says. That's what the resolution does say.
Okay, so you're making a motion to, so you're seconding Mr. Councilman Chen's motion then, is that correct?
Essentially, I guess to that extent.
Okay, so we're gonna take a vote on that first. Can we have a reverse roll call on that motion, the motion to change the language to the language that's stated in the Torrance version of the resolution?
And the Torrance version says interested cities, not all cities.
Yes, may we have a reverse roll call vote on that?
Certainly. Carson.
No, she's saying.
Yeah, so all of those opposed to the modified LTN resolution.
Boyle's El Segundo opposed. I'd like to stick to the original language. Thank you.
Okay.
Horvath opposed.
Armato.
Horvath and Armato.
Valentine opposed.
Stern is opposed.
Tanaka is opposed.
Hicks is opposed.
Any other opposition?
It's very confusing because I don't remember. Do you know how many people are here right now? We better
Yes.
take.
Let me just go.
We just go ahead with a regular vote then for this.
I'll do a roll call.
Okay. So restate. So let me restate. This is a motion to accept. This is a motion to approve the resolution number 202101 as modified by the Torrance Chamber, substituting the term interested cities as opposed to inserting the term interested cities of the South Bay.
And it was the Torrance Council, and not the Torrance Chamber. You said Chamber, Madam Chair.
I'm sorry, the Torrance Council.
And if this fails, then the other motion is on the floor.
Okay, so this is a motion for that. So go ahead and make that, motion, Councilmember Chen.
But that motion's on the floor, Madam Chair.
So moved.
Roll call.
And you have a second. We're starting all over. We have a second.
Okay. Second.
All right. Go
Okay.
ahead and go ahead and do the regular roll call, please.
Certainly. Carson,
No.
El Segundo,
Opposed, no.
Gardena,
No.
Hawthorne,
No.
Hermosa Beach,
Hermosa Beach,
No.
Inglewood,
That would be no.
Lawndale, not present. Lamita,
No.
LA City, not present. Manhattan Beach,
No.
Palos Verdes Estates,
not present.
not present. Rancho Palos Verdes,
Rancho Palos Verdes, John?
Hear me okay?
We didn't hear you. Did you?
No, no.
no. Redondo Beach,
No.
Rolling Hills,
It would be yes.
Rolling Hills Estates,
Yes.
Torrance,
Yes.
LA County District 2,
I'm not sure she's still here.
and LA County District 4.
I'll go ahead and abstain on this one, David.
So for two,
Okay.
no.
No? Okay.
No, okay. Okay,
The
so
motion,
motion does not pass.
All right.
Okay, so the other motion on the table is by Hawthorne, seconded by Carson, to approve the resolution, the original resolution as it was in the packet. So Carson,
Yes.
El Segundo,
Yes, please.
Gardena,
Yes.
Hawthorne,
Yes.
Hermosa Beach,
Yes.
Inglewood,
Yes.
Lawndale, not present. Lamita,
Aye.
LA City, Manhattan Beach,
Yes.
PV Estates, Rancho Palos Verdes,
Yes.
Redondo Beach,
Aye.
Rolling Hills,
I'll say yes to the motion with the understanding that it's not binding.
Rolling Hills Estates,
Yes.
Torrance,
No.
LA County District 2,
Yes.
and LA County District 4.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
Thank you all. Let's move on to the South Bay Fiber Network.
Okay, I've got something very exciting to tell you all. Is there, David, do you have the picture? We have, first of all, I want to thank everybody that came. That was really great, and we appreciate your support. We have a,
I'm pulling them up.
We'll be calling on you a lot, I'm sure, in the future. South Bay Fiber Network, what I wanted to tell you is we're cleaning the office to have the meetings at the office, and we found 15 shovels that say South Bay, I think they say South Bay Cities and maybe the Fiber Network. They're commemorative, there they are, they're commemorative shovels that we have one for each city. So would you like, please let me know, or David, if you want us to deliver them to your city, if you want to bring them to a council meeting and present them to your council. We're very excited, and we also want to get rid of them from our office because we don't need 15 shovels. So that's my report on the South Bay Fiber Network, and they're very nice shovels. So please let us know how you want your city to get them. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And then Grace will talk about the senior and homeless.
Okay,
I don't know, Britt wanted to, as the chair of the Senior Services Working Group, Britt, did you want to give a report? You there?
Oh, well, thank you. I would just mention that our keynote speaker for the meeting that we just had was Lori Gay, with who's executive director of the nonprofit home ownership counseling center called Neighborhood Housing Services. And that works with local governments to help homeowners repair and rehab their homes, provide real estate financial services and free mortgage assistance counseling. And I mean, I just think this is such a great opportunity for cities to tap into this. And I did especially want to thank Jennifer Lamarck from Janice Hahn's office, Supervisor Hahn, for making this connection, because I think it'll be very valuable. And so I hope, you know, the COG can connect you with this information. And I just a special shout out to Jennifer. She's been so great at networking during this pandemic, and just connecting us with important partnerships throughout all of this. So thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you, council member.
And the only thing I would add is that, again, you know, thanks to Jennifer for making that connection. See what happens on Mother's Day. She came over to visit me on Mother's Day, and goodies and a connection. But I'm excited to make the connection with neighborhood housing services for our Home Share South Bay program, because this may provide an opportunity for people who are kind of on the fence and not quite sure if they're ready to share their home, and maybe they need some repair. This might be a good connection for them. So yeah, I'm really excited about this this connection. So then just briefly, because I know it's been a long meeting with the homeless update. So last month I shared information on Measure H recommendations, and there was the open comment period that ended actually earlier this month on May 6th. And then today at the Homeless Policy Deputies meeting, Cherie Todoroff, who's the interim director of the Homeless Initiative, shared the draft memo that will be of the Measure H recommendations that will be presented at the July 6th Board of Supervisors meeting. And so if anyone's interested, I have a copy of the document and I'm happy to share that. And then, and I believe I mentioned this at the steering committee meeting, but it warrants being mentioned again at the board meeting, is that there's going to be $15 million that will be distributed to the 6 COGs in LA County, along with Palmdale and Lancaster. And the percentage that each COG is getting is based on the 2020 homeless count. And so the South Bay City's COG is expected to receive approximately $1.9 million for projects, looking at priority area 1, which is really focused on interim housing and permanent housing, and looking at strategies to get those to happen within our cities. And then priority area 2, which also includes, or which can include the development of homelessness plans, because we still have a few cities that have not completed their homelessness or developed a homelessness plan, looking at other types of pilot programs, prevention assistance, workforce development. So those are 2 of the areas. And then what we're going to be doing is we're planning on having a call for projects come out on July 7th, which is the next Homeless Services Task Force meeting, to all of our cities. And then they'll probably have about a month to put together an application, and then it'll be reviewed, and then we'll make some, you know, I'm going to put together a panel, and then we'll make some awards based on that. So anyway, just, you know, stay tuned. More information will be coming down regarding the Measure H funding that will be available to our cities through the COG. And then just briefly, the tiny home village in Council District 15, which is across the street from Harbor College, is expected to be open on June 9th. And these are 75 pallet shelters, with 25 ideally reserved for students at Harbor College, and then 50 for some of the encampments that are in CD 15. And as of a report this morning by Harbor Interfaith, there are only 6 students that have been identified who would be using the homes at this point. So that would mean that more would go to some of those who are currently in some of the surrounding encampments. And then the next Homeless Services Task Force meeting, as I mentioned, is on July 7th. And I'm trying to have more of a housing focus. And so there's a company called Safe Huts, which is actually a competitor to pellet shelters, but it's the same concept. So someone from Safe Huts will be a presenter, and this is a fairly new company that's only been in existence for about a year. And it's developed by the Duffield family, and one of the Duffields is actually a Newport Beach city council member, and he's the developer of Duffy boats. So if you've ever been out on a Duffy boat, they're made of fiberglass, and these Safe Huts are also made of fiberglass. So I encourage everybody to come to that meeting on November 7th. And that is it. Thank you.
Thank you, Grace. Telework workshop?
Yeah, we have been talking to city managers and others about best practices with telework, and I didn't get a chance to tell Jennifer or Sonia, but I was able to talk to Lisa Garrett from the county. She's the Director of Human Resources. The county is doing amazing things with telework and hoteling, and so their office will have speakers at our June board meeting, and I'm very excited about it. I think that they have a lot to share. So that will be the June board meeting.
Thank you. So now we have agency reports, but they are attached. So there will not be any, they will not be any oral reports on these unless there's anyone would like to clarify or amplify their written statements. Is there anyone?
I just wanted to mention that I'm going to put in the chat Don Zerlip's Metro South Bay Service Council report. It was submitted after the agenda pack was distributed.
Thank you.
You should know that things that are put in the chat, presentations and anything in the chat should go into the agenda on our website. So you can always find these things on our website.
Thank you. So now we have upcoming events and announcements. Does anyone have any upcoming events or announcements they'd like to make?
I would like to congratulate not just us, but also Christian Horvath, who today was appointed to the SCAG Transportation Committee. So we were able to successfully work with him to get a presidential appointment to the SCAG Transportation Committee. I'm very excited about it.
Congratulations, Christian. All right, the next board meeting is Thursday, June 24th.
Oh, you've got some hands up, Madam Chair.
Oh, hands, okay. Drew?
Thanks, Madam Chair. I'll be quick. I just learned today, and probably others of you on this call saw that the Orange County Council of Governments decided to, well, I'm not a lawyer, but I'll do my best. They file a complaint against the HCD in California regarding RENA numbers. So I've asked the folks in that group to provide information to Jackie and the rest of our team so that we can understand what they've done and potentially get on board with that.
Thank you.
That's very exciting. Yes.
You.
Anyone else? Is there anyone else? I thought I saw another hand.
Rodney had his hand up, I thought.
No, he was kind of doing
an
a
applause.
clapping for,
Okay.
It was a
just for
clap
Christian, I'm assuming, yes.
Yes, clap for Christian.
Okay. If there's no one else, then you all have a wonderful month. Well, I guess I'll see you at the next steering committee meeting, if not before.
Have a safe Memorial Day.
Yes.
Have
everyone.
a happy Memorial Day. Yes, yes, yes. Safe travels, everyone. Good night.
Good night. Thank
Later.
you.